950 The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Hey there! Good afternoon and welcome on in. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia is on the air. Thanks for listening at 95.7 FM, AM 950, The Fan Rochester, and the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps. You can even watch the Sports Bar on our YouTube channel where, Gene, if I'm not mistaken, you said there were people waiting to get into the Sports Bar.
I get to see, like, every day people that log on right before 3 o'clock, so we welcome you.
Welcome on in. The Fan Rochester on YouTube, where we stream live every afternoon from 3 to 6, also on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia, a peek behind the curtain. Moments before we were jumping on the air, we were completing a conversation that we had late in the show yesterday. Somebody that we're familiar with, Steph Diggs, who's had a bit of an off season, right? Like, he's recovering from an ACL surgery. He lands in New England, so we know we're going to see him at least twice this upcoming season. But where Diggs really made headlines, it was during the time of, right around the time of mandatory minicamp, where Diggs is on a boat with his girlfriend, Cardi B. They're hosting a party, and Diggs throws out, a little pink baggie of something, a substance of some kind, while he's surrounded by bikini-clad females. And
which is not normal when really you should be in Foxborough working with your team.
Wait, sure. Well, more than anything, noteworthy that Diggs was in a relationship with hip-hop royalty and Cardi B. And yesterday, late in the show, I know when I brought this up, Gene, you probably looked at me sideways like, you're just making this up. There's no way. How does your mind work where you see this example? I'm like, my feed is my feed. My algorithm is my algorithm. Try not to explain it because it is a dark and dangerous place to explore. But I do remember seeing over the last few days a post in my feed that mentioned Diggs breaking up with Cardi B because the stench of her Brazilian butt lift was too much for him to bear.
If this were the Dan Patrick show, you go around the room. What did you learn on the show? Well, I learned that the Brazilian butt lift has a side effect where it could cause a foul odor.
Where does the foul odor emanate from?
Well, I did some reading last night.
I'm glad you did.
First, let's
yeoman's work.
Let's put this out there. There's still an item.
Wait, they're still together.
Yes, so
Oh!
that's the follow-up to the story.
Oh, who knew?
I don't know if this was Cardi B trolling people, but then she went on the attack on social media last night, and then Diggs putting up a video today of the two of them working out together. So, yeah, we just all jump to the conclusions. Usually, scrubbing of the social media means something. Apparently, it
She
meant
did
nothing.
scrub the
Diggs.
social media
of Diggs, yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe they made up in the interim, but there's still an item, whatever. But, yeah, I did read that, and what it does is it kills fat cells, and those fat cells sometimes don't have a place to go to. Hence, you have these dying fat cells. This isn't really pleasant to talk about, but, they can cause an odor.
Do you sweat out the odor? Is it?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I shudder to think of what that odor is if you're Steph Diggs and you can't bear it when you consider the man spends time in locker rooms with 400-pound grown men who've just been working out solid on a sweaty, hot summer day for 3 hours.
We'll review what we said yesterday. That was that couldn't vet fully that Diggs had an issue, or even Cardi B was suffering from this condition. But because it's Diggs, we were just going to allow it. Normally, I'd be like, no, we're only going to talk about real things. But you know what?
We want it to be real.
We want it to be real.
We're wishing it to be real. We're wishing this story of Diggs breaking up with Cardi B because of the foul stench from a Brazilian butt lift. We're wishing it to be factual and real, even though it's probably just manufactured for clicks. So that's how we start the sports bar on a Wednesday afternoon with no football, no NBA,
Yeah.
no NHL.
Our buddy Evan Shute was like, "Hey, what are you going to do a Mount Rushmore show?" I'm like,
Nope.
Nope. Hate Mount Rushmore radio. Not our thing. Sorry.
No, you know what I see a lot of our Odyssey Sports sister stations do this time of year. They'll go off the beaten path and they'll issue like challenges towards each other between shows. Now, we're a one show brand here on the Fan Rochester. I mean, you have the national programming that comes to us in the morning from Maggie and Perloff and Ryder and you know, JR. We love everybody that's on the Fan Rochester, but when it comes down to it, it's just you and me. So as an example, in Philadelphia, our Odyssey Sports sister station, the wildly successful WIP in Philadelphia, good friends with Spike, who hosts afternoons at WIP.
By the way, he's a dick.
Oh, no question.
No, I mean, like, literally, well, how he's going at the Mets. Somebody should investigate the Mets. Okay, you've gone full-on heel. I know he's your friend, and that's why I'm saying it, but go on.
Spike knows what buttons to push and how to agitate, and clearly he's done a good job because look at what he's done to you. You just called him a dick. You don't even know the guy. Don't even know him.
Sure I do.
Don't even know him. They, in recent days, issued a challenge between morning host Joe DeCamera and afternoon show producer in Jack Fritz. And Fritz played, I think he played college baseball. Fritz, you know, DeCamera talking a big game, as one does, said he could hit a ball off of Jack Fritz. And Jack Fritz struck out DeCamera 5 times. 0 for 5, 5 strikeouts. I will maintain the hardest thing to do in professional sports is to hit a baseball. Even if it's coming from a guy who doesn't play professional baseball, the movement, the speed, if you're not used to it, if you're not in there constantly and getting those reps, it's a challenging thing to do.
Just go to the batting cage. Everybody goes to the batting cage, right? And we're trying to relive the days. And I'm going to step in against 80 miles an hour. And, oh, my gosh, I can't
You're not catching that.
No.
You're not catching that. That's what they're doing during the downtime, issuing little challenges between different shows within the brand of the station. Gene, we do enough of that. I mean, we have our boxed wine bets. I'm satiated with that. I win some, I lose some. I think it's all good.
We're fine. It happens organically.
We don't have we don't have a boxed wine bet in motion right now. I paid off my boxed wine bet about Aaron Rodgers. I was convinced after his showing in the McAfee show in the spring that he wasn't going to come back to football. He sounded like a guy who didn't want to play football. And
it happened, the best part of that, while I was on the air, and Mike Danger, for reasons other than, like he was in the building, but I had to call you on the phone.
I had some issues that I had to deal with my other responsibilities here for Odyssey. And Gene,
hey, Danger, you got me? Danger.
Is this? Yeah.
Yeah, you lost the bet. You lost the bet. Box wine. Bring it to me now, buddy. Hanging up.
Now, I don't remember acting that way when I won the bet about Bill Belichick last year. Maybe I said pay up, bitch, and that was it. Maybe I threw you a pay up, bitch, but that was as far as it went.
I don't remember doing that. When
You
tell
blacked
you that,
out.
I blacked out, and then the regulars started chiming in. How dare he hang up on his co-host like that? I'm like, what are you talking about? And Pizza Dude was running the board that day. Derek's like, let's listen in. I'm like, oh my gosh, I really did that?
Unbelievable misfit behavior. Speaking of misfits, and we'll set up who's stopping by the sports bar here in a second. I wanted to share this because it's something that, I mentioned from time to time. I'm in a text thread with a bunch of New Yorkers, both fans of the Mets and the Yankees. And I love being in this thread as kind of like an observer, an outsider, because I can really see how the two fan bases interact with each other and how much they hate each other. And the first thing that I saw this morning was this quote from the New York Mets' Juan Soto.
Like to make the All-Star team?
What do you think?
I don't know. Some people want to take vacation.
I mean, I think it's a lot of money on the table if I make it.
That's Juan Soto answering a question about not making the All-Star team. It's a lot of money on the table if I make it. How does this rub you as a Mets fan? How does it rub you as a sports fan?
Just point out that's a dumb question, by the way. Like, the question should be, are you upset by not making it, or does it bother you? Did you want to make it? Of course he would want to make it. Who wouldn't? Everybody wants to be named, but he said the quiet part out loud. There's a, dare I say that's an A-Rod level of lack of self-awareness. Like, A-Rod, one of the greatest of our time, but we don't talk about that because that's not a guy that we really hold in high respect. Suspended a whole year, and Juan Soto's not that, I understand. But when you're making the most in the game, not named Shohei Ohtani, that's kind of right. Like, that shouldn't be coming out of your mouth.
You almost need to, you know that you're making what you're making. Everybody knows that you're making what you're making. You almost have to distance yourself from the money and make it all about your performance whenever asked about anything, right? It can't, the money conversation can't enter the chat. It has to be, I didn't play well enough this first half of the season. Of course I'm disappointed. Of course I would love to have made the All-Star game. I need to be better. I need to be better for my guys. I need to be better for my team. And you leave it at that. You don't even mention the money, but he mentioned the money. And because he mentioned the money, now the Sharks are in the, now there's chum in the water, and guy's a loser. What a loser.
Well, coming up, Washington, San Diego, but you came over from the Yankees. Like, you should know how to deal with the New York media. By the way, he's not worthy of an all-star selection. His OPS, after Memorial Day danger, 1.211. Okay, that's pretty good. But before that, 0.798. Like the analytics are saying, no, that was not, like, he has struggled. Nobody would say, man, that's a snub, unless you're a really big Met fan. I'm sorry. Or somebody that's looking for a clickbait. Never once did I think, oh, boy, they did Juan Soto wrong by not naming him.
He didn't earn it. And, yeah, he probably is pissed that he didn't get that escalator that goes with him making the All-Star team, but he didn't earn it. And the good news is he has plenty of time to earn it in future years.
Well, see, is that it's only wrong because he said it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
It's a PR thing. That's all this is. Whoever's in charge of PR for Juan Soto, fire that person. That's as simple, because you have to prep him before he goes up and talks to reporters. Here are the questions that are going to come your way. Our buddy Nate Rowan, that's his job with the Baltimore Orioles. Went for the Red Wings, and he talks to the manager. Here are some of the questions. Let's talk about this in advance. And you talk about this with the players. I'm going to give you another Juan Soto example. And this goes back to the original Subway Series, not the one that just ended, but the one at Yankee Stadium where, hey, Sunday Night Baseball, let's mic up Juan Soto. And then at the last second, he pulls out. No, if you made that commitment, you follow it through. But maybe you shouldn't have said yes in the first place, because guess what those cat calls would be all like in right field.
Do you think baseball players are the least equipped to handle the media out of all professional sports? And hear me out, because
Okay,
I feel like it's not exclusive to players. I feel like managers also at times don't say the right things or do the right things, or at least give the right answers. Even as recently as the last 24 hours. I mean, ask Aaron Boone about the move of Jazz Chisholm to second base for the Yankees. Hey, how did DJ take that? Aaron Boone kind of said, well, he didn't take it good. And instead of saying he didn't take it good, you could have just said, DJ's a competitor, but he understands that in the future he's going to have opportunities to contribute to the success of this team. You can leave it at that. That's a pretty political answer.
Well, he's done. I'm done with DJ LeMay.
Right, without saying DJ was pissed off and took it like a baby. Because the way he said it, it's almost like as if he was saying DJ did not take it well. He's pissed off. It's like, okay, well, he's pissed off. He's a competitor. He wants to be the best at his position. He wants to do what he can do to help this team. But the way it was presented, it almost came off as DJ's a baby. He's a baby who didn't like the decision to move Chisholm to second base, even though it feels like that's the right move when you look at all the numbers and the fact that the Yankees win as much as they do with Chisholm at second versus at third.
I think it's an access issue, Danger, and I'm not wishing, like, for anybody that's on the Major League Baseball beat, like, a manager can talk not 2 times a week, 2 times a day.
Yeah.
Like, compared to the NFL, we hear from McDermott twice a week. Hey, here's his Wednesdays, and he's going to blow smoke up the opponent's butt, okay?
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, he's going to talk in platitudes. And then that's it. That's it for Sean McDermott. Oh, he'll go on Sal's show on Friday and give you an update there. But, like, as far as the ability for us to questions, a manager will talk more often than not before a game, give you the injury update, and then he'll give his thoughts after the game. So there's a lot more opportunity, I guess, to slip up.
Yeah, maybe it's not that they're ill-equipped. It's just that there's more opportunity for them to say the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
Would our lives as sports fans be impacted if we heard less from the Juan Sotos of the world?
This is an interesting debate because this is what the NBA and WNBA are trying to accomplish.
They don't want their players talking.
Nope. Yep. You really can't go into the locker room here. You're just going to go up and we're going to put people up at the podium. We really are going to control the messaging. And the WNBA has, like, they've got to go further or they got to get better coaching because that is a league right now that has issues when it comes to that.
I'm not anti-women's sports, but the WNBA is an unserious league. Until, the league versus Caitlin Clark thing. I mean, like, the whole thing is so ridiculous to me. I can't take it seriously.
I think it's growing pains is how I would phrase it.
You're much more political than I am.
Like, there is a market there.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they are making money. It's just that they went from 0 to 60 quite, quickly. And I forgive me, I don't know who to credit on this. I read it, forgive me, but the WNBA, these players, they weren't asked questions in college. Now they're put in front of a microphone. They have no training when it comes to that.
Right. So I guess my question is, are we okay if we had less access to players? Because when you're a fan of Juan Soto and you hear him say what he said today, do you remain steadfast? I know there's some Mets fans that'll be like, I don't care that he said that. I actually like that he said that. Of course he said that. That's real.
But
that's honest.
It's also in the tone, right? If he said it as a joke, and maybe he was play it again, Danger.
Maybe he was saying it as
maybe
a joke,
it's a joke,
and we just don't understand his tone because it's a hard thing to decipher. It's a hard thing to interpret, and we don't know these people personally. He is saying it as he's getting asked the question. He's got a pretty good smirk on his face, almost as if to say, "Why would you ask me that question?"
Would you have liked to make the All-Star team?
What do you think?
I don't know. Some people want to take vacation.
I mean, I think it's a lot of money on the table if I make it.
See, you could make the argument, Danger, that was such a would you have liked to make the All-Star team? What do you think?
Yes, tongue in cheek.
Yeah, tongue in cheek. Of
course, I want to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Mets fan side on this. I'm not worried about Juan Soto. I'm not worried about that guy. If you're a Mets fan or a Yankee fan or you're somebody that wants to look at Juan Soto with all the money he's making, oh, what a bust. Oh, terrible move. Awful signing. Yeah, this is a long-term play. When did Lindor kind of kick in with the Mets? It took him a second.
Yeah, it took not the first year. And beginning of last year was really bad in April. And then all of a sudden he's playing at an MVP level. Juan Soto has one of the best batting eyes.
He's going to be fine.
He's one of the best all time when it comes to deciphering a strike zone. As long as he has that, Danger, he's going to offer value no matter what slump he goes into. And now he's coming out of it. It's just that when you're in New York, everything gets blown up just a little bit more. And with Juan Soto, would you agree there's a little bit of A-Rod in him?
The lack of self-awareness?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I mean, he's still – how old is he now? 24? 25?
He's really young.
Yeah, I mean, he was like – we forget how young he was when he rose to prominence with the Nationals in their World Series run. So he's 26. He's still going to be somewhat immature. And he's got all of this money now. I'm not worried about him. I mean, you could say that's unfortunate that he said that. Maybe a little bit of coaching from his PR team tells him, hey, yeah, of course I'm upset. I wasn't good enough to make the All-Star team, though I need to improve. I need to be better every day. I need to be better for this team and for my guys. That's the answer you give, and you leave the money out of it. But he couldn't help himself. I'm not going to peg him as a loser for saying what he said. I'm not going to be overly critical. Simultaneously, as a sports fan, I don't think I would be impacted if we didn't have that access altogether. If that availability of Juan Soto wasn't there, if it never happened, if it disappeared or blipped like in the Avengers, I'd be okay. We would be fine. I could just stick to watching the games and enjoying what I'm seeing on the field. We have a fun show lined up for you this afternoon. We'll talk more baseball with Jim Riley of Ball Cap Sports, who's stopping by the sports bar in the 4 o'clock hour, right around 4:25.
Yeah, we'll talk some Yankees. We'll talk some Mets. Who else should be in the home run derby? Oh, by the way, did you see this? ABS is coming to the All-Star game, the automated balls and strikes.
Okay.
All right, this is I think it's the final step to actually, hey, you're going to see this in the major leagues. It was in spring training, but now are they going to, like they're trying to make sure that you're acclimated when this is going to be launched upon us. So Jim Riley, Ball Cap Sports in the 4 o'clock hour. PJ Glasser, your host, has sent it in. It's been a minute since we talked to PJ. Want to talk some futures with him today, too.
I mean, it's been at least 3 weeks since I've talked to PJ. Can't wait. And PJ just completing his tour of all 32 ballparks in Major League Baseball, so we'll get his ranking on that as well. Insider calls are presented by BetMGM. Go check out the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. Odyssey Sports Betting Insider, host of Send It In on the BetMGM network, PJ Glasser. He's joining us next on The Fan Rochester.
Matinee at Innovative Field as they go to the bottom of the 7th. Red Wings leading Worcester 4-2. 2 weeks from today, Buffalo Bills camp starting at St. John Fisher University. Steve Tasker today on One Bills Live likes Hard Knocks coming.
I'd love to hear fans' thoughts about what Hard Knocks means to the Bills and if they're for it or against it. I think most fans are kind of secretly happy their teams do it because they want to see. They want more content about their team, and this is unlike any other content.
Don't want to wish your summer away, but we have a hockey date for you for the Rochester Americans. The home opener will be on Friday, October 10th against Toronto. The complete American Hockey League schedule coming out tomorrow. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com. Get 2 rounds for the price of 1 to Wildwood Country Club. For this and some of the great deals, log on to GetMyPerks.com today. Gene Battaglia on the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Okay, you're back in the sports bar, and the band is back together. We welcome in the host of Send It In on the BetMGM Network, Odyssey Sports Betting Insider, PJ Glasser. Insider Calls presented by BetMGM. Check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app, PJ. We've all had our time here this summer. Gino, fresh from the Cape. I was in Europe. And you completed a bucket list item that I think a lot of sports fans have. You visited all major league ballparks, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe you have a power ranking of the best ballparks out there. Welcome back into the sports bar, PJ.
Good to be with you guys. Yeah, good to be with you. Missed you a couple weeks off. Completed all the ballparks. Been to all 30. Took me and the fam, my mom, my dad, my brother. We started 20 years ago, and we hit our final 3. We were in Texas for the last 2, and then Arizona for the last one. So those were our 3. We ended with the Diamondbacks. My top 5 of the ballparks, you guys. San Francisco with the Giants at Oracle Park is number 1. The Pirates with PNC is number 2. Wrigley is number 3 with the Cubs. Camden Yards with the O's is number 4. And the Mariners is number 5.
Wow.
So, the Giants and the Pirates, I think, are definitely the top 2. I think people that want to make the argument for Pittsburgh being 1, I think it's totally fair, because what I've noticed, you guys, with all these parks, right, is that they either have a nice skyline with most of the parks, either all the ballparks are on like a body of water, or they're off like a lake or something like that, they're off a river, or they're either in a dome or they don't really have a skyline. Those are pretty much 3 parks. And Pittsburgh's the only one that has the skyline and is also off of a body of water as well, which makes it really nice. But we love the Giants the best. Anybody who's ever been to a game in San Francisco, I think, can attest to just what a great place that is to catch a game. So that's my top 5.
Yeah, top 5. Which ones would be, like, in terms of ballpark, surroundings? Like, for example, I'm a Met fan, but Citi Field right now, ain't nothing to do after the game. They're working on that, where there'll be development. But I've been to Fenway, and that's part of the charm there. You want to walk down Yawkey Way and do some things like that. So what parks, PJ, would you say would be ranking high in your category there?
Yeah, so Fenway, Wrigley, Gene, very similar, right? Obviously, parks that are over 100 years old. They're in neighborhoods. And the renovations, especially with Wrigley, for anybody who's kind of been in like the last 6 or 7 years, they've built so much around the park. They got a new sports book now. They have new restaurants. They've built around the stadium. So those are 2 really good ones. St. Louis, it's such a great ballpark and such a great ballpark city, right? We talk about Cardinal fans a lot and how much they love their baseball, but they have something called like Ballpark Village, where right outside of Busch Stadium, they have like an area with a bunch of bars and restaurants and just a great place for people to watch the game. So I thought that was one of the better ones, was the Ballpark Village around there. But for me, guys, like something that puts stadiums towards the top is I love good downtown ballparks, like parks where you have to drive a little bit out of the city to go see the game. Don't love as much. Kansas City is a really nice park, Kauffman Stadium. I have it in the top 10. But, it shares the parking lot with Arrowhead, and there's nothing around it. There's no bars, there's no restaurants, there's no hotels. it's just a big parking lot, and it's like a 15, 20-minute drive outside the city. So any of those parks that aren't in downtown, I don't love as much. And like you, Gene, I can appreciate it when you got a park in the city and there's stuff to do right outside the stadium.
All right, I got to ask you one more here, PJ, because I know there's a lot of ballpark chasers, if you will. We got to talk about the dumps, right? Like, did you have Oakland at the bottom? I mean, it doesn't exist anymore, but which parks are you like, no, not at my top of my list here, but which ones need some work here?
So it is important to mention I have not been to the new Marlins. I have not been to the new Braves. And then obviously I haven't been to Sacramento where the A's are now, and I haven't been to the Yankees spring training park where the Rays are playing this season. But of the ones I have been to, the old Marlins I had ranked as dead last, sharing the stadium with the Dolphins when they would used to do baseball and football there. Oakland, like you said, Gene, when they were playing at the Coliseum with the Raiders and the A's, that was there. And then the Trop as well. I mean, those three ballparks, they're just dumps. You know, I mean, there's not much going for them. They're not very nice. The attendance is low. And two of them, shared with the football team, so they weren't great. And then Trop, there's not much going for it. It's outside of Tampa Bay. You have to drive out of town. That's why they don't have great crowds for it. Old Turner Field, where the Braves used to play, didn't have much going for it either. That was it. That was towards the bottom. White Sox, I will say, had really good food. And what was cool about White Sox is it's the only park where when you go into the concourse level, you go through the turnstiles, enter the gates. When you're walking through the ramps, you can see the opposing team take batting practice in the cages, when they're inside, which is a pretty neat feature. But other than that, it's not all that great. It's on the south side, which isn't as great as the north side where the Cubs play. So I had those three as the bottom five, but yeah, Rays, A's, Marlins for me, those are the bottom three.
Something happened to me last night as I was watching sports. I found myself watching for the first time ever the A's playing baseball in Sacramento.
Yeah.
And Gino, when they show the stadium,
it looks like Frontier a little bit. It
looks like a minor league.
Yeah,
it looks exactly like it. I'm like, this is a sad state of affairs for Major League Baseball, knowing that you have a professional team playing an entire season, if not more, in a minor league stadium. PJ, we want to, as we're approaching the All-Star break here, we want to kind of look ahead to the rest of the season, and a lot can change between now and the season's conclusion. The trade deadline is still coming up. But is there value to be found in the futures market? Because we're seeing a team like Toronto kind of rise up in the AL East and claim possession of first place. And maybe it has to do with the schedule. Maybe it has to do with them being a pretty good ball club. But is there value right now in the futures market as far as winning a division, making it to the World Series in Major League Baseball?
Yeah, I think definitely in the American League, it's certainly more up for grabs, right? I think we've been talking about this for much of the season, where the National League, you have so many really good teams with the Dodgers and the Padres and the Phillies and the Mets, and just the way the American League has worked out. I mean, the Tigers have really been the best team in the AL from the start. The Yankees have really fallen off. The Astros have started to play a lot better, and then, as you mentioned, the emergence of Toronto winning 10 straight games. I think if you're looking for futures, the American League is probably the way to go. I kind of like the Astros, you guys, at plus 375, right? We all kind of are waiting for the dynasty to be over and for Houston to fall off. But, I mean, there's two starting pitchers with Framber Valdez and Hunter Brown's a great 1-2 punch. Their bullpen's good. Their lineup is obviously experienced, and I expect them to make a move or two at the deadline. So I like Houston there, plus 375 to win the American League. That would be the future that I would look at in the AL. National League, again, you guys, I think probably the Padres would be your best bet at 20-1. There's value on them to win the National League just because right now they're battling to just make the playoffs. They're battling to make the wild card. If the season ended today, the Padres would be on the outside looking in. They're one game back of the Giants for that final spot. So the price with San Diego, I thought them and the Dodgers were the two best teams in baseball last season, and there really wasn't a lot of roster turnover with San Diego. They lost a couple of bullpen pieces. They lost Profar to the Braves as well, but, man, their lineup's still really good. Their starting pitching is starting to get a little healthy. Darvish is back. Michael King's going to be back to go along with Cease. So Danger, at this point here, July 9th, looking for futures, I'd say Houston American League, San Diego National League, two teams I'd look at.
Not exactly a getaway Wednesday here in the majors. We've got two games in action. Dodgers, Brewers, scoreless in the fifth. Jays looking to make it. How many now? 10, 11? I'm losing count here. Jays up on the White Sox 1-0 as they're in the fourth. So, PJ, with the exception of Giants and Phillies coming up a little bit, everything else on the lights tonight, are there any plays in the majors that you like here tonight?
I'm rolling with the Marlins, you guys, tonight at plus 120 on the money line against the Reds. The Marlins have won 10 straight road games, and they've won all those games as underdogs. It's the longest streak in baseball. And nobody's really talking about it because it's the Marlins. But they've been unbelievable on the road, and they've been great as dogs. So you're always afraid of this, right, with a trend like this and when it's long to kind of jump in on the tail end and be the person that bets it and it finally loses. But look, until they lose, I think that's a good bet to make at plus 120. So I like the Marlins tonight as dogs. I think they're a good bet. I like the Rangers tonight on the money line as well at minus 120. They're favorites on the road in Anaheim. Kumar Rocker against Kyle Hendricks, two pitchers that have kind of been up and down this season. But the Rangers offense should do pretty good damage against Hendricks tonight. So I'm looking for them to score some runs and win the game. So I like the Rangers on the road, and I like the Marlins on the road tonight as well.
Hey, PJ, just quickly, because we spend the majority of our time talking baseball with the Yankees and the Mets and the kind of division that we have here in our town with fans of both teams. What's your take on how both teams have performed here over the course of the last couple of weeks? We know the Mets now back in a first-place tie with Philadelphia and, of course, New York winning 2 in a row, but also now 3.5 back of the Blue Jays, who just got off a 4-game sweep just a couple of weeks ago.
So I definitely like the Mets better. I think the Mets are the better team between the two. I think they got a good manager as well. Obviously, the thing with the Mets has been how good their pitching has been up to this point. You know, yesterday was the first time that Clay Holmes has given up 5 earned runs the entire season, and it comes on July 8th. So their pitching's really good. Alonso's obviously having a great year. Soto's starting to get better. They've been awesome at home. They're 33-14 at home this season. So if I'm choosing between the two, it's definitely the Mets. I am concerned about the Yankees. Judge is obviously unbelievable. Outside of him, though, you really don't know what you're going to get from all those guys. Fried and Rodon have been really good at the top of that rotation, but they're obviously really missing Garrett Cole. We knew they would at some point, but they're missing his presence. Luis Gil's supposed to be back here at some point, and the Yankees are hoping that he can return to his form when he won AL Rookie of the Year. But I definitely like the Mets between those two. I think there's a chance the Yankees can still win that division just because, again, like the Blue Jays have won 10 in a row. At some point, they're going to go through their losing streak. What's interesting to note about the Yankees, you guys, they're not going to play any more games this year that start after 8 p.m. Eastern time. They're done with their West Coast road trips. They don't have to go to Colorado. They already played them earlier this year in Denver. So the Yankees are just playing on the East Coast or the Midwest. And that limit of travel, I think, is going to be huge for them, while obviously some of these teams are going to have to make trips out on the West Coast in August and September when they're trying to win division races. So that's going to be a big thing for the Yankees that I think might pay dividends towards the end. And I think they're in a good spot, right? They're starting to go through their slide. The Blue Jays are obviously having their kind of moment right now. I think the Yankees can still win that division, but long term, I'm backing the Mets more so.
PJ Glasser, our guest here. It's been a little bit since we talked, PJ. Last time we talked, I don't even think the NBA Finals had wrapped up. So now that we're looking ahead to next year, now that we've had some movement here in the offseason, now that we look at the Eastern Conference, it's like, well, are we really thinking the Knicks are going to take that step forward? Do we like Cleveland? We know Boston has certainly lots of questions and turnover there. Your thoughts on the futures market right now when it comes to the Eastern Conference and the NBA? Because this came up yesterday when we were kind of looking at Orlando, how they're locking guys up, and they've got this fun young team. But what we're looking at, we're like, wait a second, they have the third best odds in the East. Didn't seem like great value there for the Orlando Magic. What are your thoughts on the Eastern Conference of the NBA, PJ?
Not good value, Gene, and it continues to go down. I mean, on BetMGM right now is plus 400. You could have gotten Orlando at like plus 550. So, I mean, for a team that's never even been out of the first round of the playoffs, I don't know how you can bet them at plus 400. I understand all the injuries. No Tatum this year, no Halliburton. So the Pacers are going to be down. The Celtics are going to be down. We know Lillard's no longer on the Bucks. even though they still have Giannis. They're probably not going to win the East either. You guys, I got to be honest with you. This is one of the more fascinating futures markets I can remember because it feels like all of the teams towards the top you want to fade, right? Yeah. I mean, the Cavs, we've seen Donovan Mitchell be on really good teams as the best player, and it just hasn't worked out yet. The Knicks probably are the team to beat, but now bringing in Mike Brown as the new head coach, what is that going to look like? Orlando, as you mentioned, I've heard a lot of people that like them, and I think it makes sense. Again, though, to make the jump of a team that hasn't even got it out of the first round yet to winning at least 3 playoff series and going to the finals, I don't know if I can get there at plus 400. To me, fellas, I think Philadelphia is the bet at 11-1 because in the East, you're looking for upside. And I've always been the guy to say I'll never trust Philly as long as Embiid's their best player because you just don't trust them to stay healthy, right? But I ask you guys, of all the teams in the East, if I promised you that all of those teams were going to enter the postseason and play the postseason fully healthy, I mean, which team would you take? You'd probably consider Philly, wouldn't you? Could argue Embiid's probably the second best player in the Eastern Conference. We know Maxi's awesome. Nick Nurse has won an NBA championship. I mean, we'll see what they get out of Paul George this season, but it can't be much worse than what they got out of him last year. So I think it's Philly for me because in the East, I'm looking for teams with upside. I'm looking for teams that have star caliber players. And again, I know it's a lot of ifs, but that's why they're 11-1. If Maxi and Embiid are available and they're playing good in the postseason, I think they're as dangerous as anybody. So Philly would be my look in the Eastern Conference.
No love for the Pistons.
You know, they're interesting too. I kind of think they're like a little less version of the Magic, right? They've been so bad for so long. They kind of have their player now that they're building around, right? Kind of Cade is what Paolo is to Orlando. It does just feel like they're kind of missing that second piece, right? Orlando has Wagner to go along with Paolo, and now they have Desmond Bane as well. It feels like the Pistons need to make that big move. They need to bring in somebody else to go with Cade Cunningham. I like their team. I think they're going to be in the playoffs again. I think there's a chance they could win a series. I don't know if I can pick them, though, to win the East unless they make a big move, bring along another player to go along with Cade.
What do you think Vegas is thinking about the inevitable, meaning Giannis? I don't know if he gets moved this summer. I'm not sure if he gets moved at some point during the season, but I can't see him playing long-term in Milwaukee. If he gets dealt, PJ, how do you think the market will react?
Well, the Rockets were definitely one of the teams that we thought could go after Giannis, and obviously that they've gone after Durant. You can probably throw that out of the loop. We know the Knicks have been super aggressive here the last couple off seasons to try and go after stars with Bridges and Towns. So don't know if they're going to quite do it again. It's tough, Gene, and that's part of betting sometimes in futures is when you have stars like this that there is a chance that they can get dealt, you kind of try and pick out some teams where you think could be some landing spots and try and get some good numbers to beat the market. So I kind of do think Giannis is going to end up staying this season, right? They got rid of Dame. They brought in Miles Turner. And look, Giannis wants to win a championship. If you're going to the Western Conference, unless it's maybe San Antonio, you're probably not going to win a championship with how good the West is. Again, if you stay in Milwaukee, there's really not a team that scares you. There's no OKC over in the Eastern Conference. So I think for at least this season, with the landscape of the East, Giannis probably ends up staying. But, I mean, Gene, if he gets moved, I mean, you're still talking about one of the 3 best, maybe 5 best players in the league. So the market's definitely going to react, especially if he goes to a team like San Antonio where you already have another top player in the league.
Just made a note to move ahead to March when we do our Baltimore East bracket. Paolo Banchero.
Yeah.
Paolo Banchero has to be. I mean, that might be a 1 seed. It might just be. It could be a 1 seed. PJ Glasser, he's the host of Send It In on the BetMGM Network, joining us from Baltimore here in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. PJ, before we let you go, you're always gracious with your time. I want to make sure you have plenty of time to let our audience know how they can get more of your work.
Yeah, guys, appreciate it. Check out Send It In, as always, Mondays through Fridays, 1 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're only a 30-minute show, but we're fast-paced, no commercial breaks, and we just talk about everything going on in the world of sports. Obviously, we're starting to preview college football now. getting to the NFL. We're previewing one team every single day in college and the pros. It's interactive, so we love for people to watch the show, chime in. You can follow us, watch us at the BetMGM Network, Twitch, YouTube, and on X as well. So we encourage and we would love for everybody to check out the show and tune in.
PJ Glasser, always great stuff, and definitely check out his show. PJ, appreciate the time today, buddy.
Thank you, fellas. Good catching up with you. Talk again next week.
You got it. He is the host of Send It In, Odyssey Sports Betting Insider PJ Glasser. And Insider Calls always presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app.
All right, so thinking about, can we go back to baseball here for a second? Because, that's PJ. He doesn't care. The Mets are a better team compared to the Yankees. I think the Yankees have the biggest variance right now. And it really depends on Brian Cashman. If Cashman can go out and get a few pieces, there's no reason they can't go get a third baseman. There's no reason they can't get another starter. There's no reason they can't fortify their bullpen, but they've been reluctant to do that in recent years. Okay, they traded for Jazz Chisholm last year. Good for you.
So they could either be a World Series team,
or they could find themselves out,
or they could get bounced in the first,
or no,
or not even miss the playoffs altogether.
Miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take it by what PJ said in our futures conversation, that if there was a team in the American League or the National League to beat either the Dodgers or the Tigers in the American League, I'm going to go with the Astros, since he had them as his pick for the future, and I would also say the Padres. He still believes the Padres and the Dodgers, two best teams in the National League.
Are the Padres the Buffalo Bills right now of MLB? Because they're young, people like them. They haven't gotten over on the Dodgers. They didn't get over on the Phillies. They've been knocking on the door. They will be there again in the postseason. There's a reason why you could like, because once you get in, okay, anything can happen.
Yeah.
And I will disagree with him on this. Darvish, if that's the hope.
Looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Looked pretty good in his first outing back. I think it's the Phillies. If there's a team that can take down the Dodgers in the National League, I think it's the Phillies. And I'm a Cubs guy saying that. I think the Phillies, just more seasoned, better arms, just all around, just a better roster.
They have the 1-2, but Ranger Suarez is dealing, so that makes up for the loss of Noah and Wheeler, too. What is the problem, as always, though? Example last night, they don't have a closer. Granted, that was a pretty freaky way to lose last night to the Giants. Their walk-off inside the park homer.
Yeah, it was an interesting night last night. I'm flipping through. I'm watching games. The Yankees go to a rain delay, so I switched that off and wait for that to kind of pass. And then later in the evening, as I was waiting to go pick up my kid at the airport, flight was delayed. I had to go to the airport after midnight.
Yeah.
So I'm forcing myself to stay awake, and I'm like, oh, the A's are at home, and they're playing. And I hadn't seen a game in Sacramento, highlights, but just watching. I'm like, this is kind of a joke.
The lighting is weird. Our stadium in Rochester is nicer than the one they have in Sacramento. But they didn't really have any options. What else were they going to do?
It's small. They opened the game with an inside the park home run, and I know that this isn't the fact. 90 feet is 90 feet, but all I'm thinking to myself is yeah, of course he hit an inside. He's playing in a little league field. Of course he hit it doesn't feel like a major league field. It didn't feel or look like a major league field because it's not, and it just took a second for the eyes to adjust to what I was seeing.
Really. The Mets are out there, and so are the Yankees. But when I'm watching the Mets series, Nimmo hits a home run to right field. Do you see where the ball goes? No. Because it lands in a tree. Literally, there's a tree in right field, outside the wall. Okay.
Although at this time of year in Sacramento, it could have just vaporized and nobody would have known. I mean, you're talking about temperatures of 110 degrees. It's ridiculously hot. Fun conversation with PJ. I always appreciate him making time for us and giving us some winners. Check him out on Send It In, the BetMGM Network. Search him out on YouTube and on X. Next hour, Jim Riley, Ball Cap Sports will stop by, and we'll have more Major League Baseball discussion. I want to find out from Jim the origins of his Jays fandom, because he's a 585 guy in Baltimore now, doing great work on Ball Cap Sports on YouTube. But what made him a Jays fan? Was it proximity more than anything?
Yeah, I see. The reason why I think that we don't have Jays fans here in Rochester, because you don't see it on TV. It's easy to become a Yankee fan, a Met fan, even other teams, but the Jays are never on TV because of the border. Like way, way back, they used to be on a lot. Now you can hardly find them. So, yeah, I'd be curious to know how that all originated.
First place team, I guess maybe seeing them a little bit more moving forward.
Well, good for them, but let's be real here for a second. It's the Angels, the White Sox, and
Yeah, sure.
you swept the Yankees. Good for you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that you have to apologize for a win. And last check, I think they were down to the White Sox this afternoon.
Yeah, 2-1.
Yeah, so we'll get Jim Riley on from Ballcap Sports next hour, and we'll continue our Major League Baseball discussion. Before we get to that, let's give away a free pair of tickets to see Adam Sandler, who's coming to KeyBank Center September 21st in Buffalo, courtesy of Live Nation. If you want to win these tickets, be caller 5 now at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. You can get your tickets to see Adam Sandler on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, or you can win them for free if you're caller 5 at 866-4326. Good luck from the Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on 95.7 WATF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
They go to the top of the ninth at home. The Wings looking to hold on here. They lead Worcester 4-3. On the Major League scoreboard, they go to the seventh in Milwaukee, where the Dodgers and the Brewers are tied at 1. White Sox looking to break the Jays' winning streak. Right now, they're in the 6th. Chicago leading Toronto by a 2-1 score. Only other game in action right now, Philadelphia and San Francisco. They're in the 2nd, scoreless. The Yankees looking to make it 3 in a row tonight as they're taking on Seattle at the stadium. The Mets continue their series in Baltimore. Boston at home tonight taking on Colorado. The home opener for the Rochester Americans, that's going to be on October 10th against Toronto. The complete American Hockey League scoreboard or schedule will be coming out tomorrow. G. Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
We're exactly 2 weeks away from training camp at St. John Fisher. 2 weeks from today.
It's such a good offense that the skill position players. Obviously, you want pieces. You want Josh Allen. You want James Cook.
Khalil Shakir! Wow!
It's Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, and it's going to be a good one.
Mike Danger.
I'm like, oh boy. We're going to have to deal with insufferable Geno with the number 1 overall pick for the next couple of months.
Well, to be fair, I'm always insufferable.
Well, go ahead.
Let's go, Mets.
Gene Battaglia.
Should I wear something just as a tip to the sports bar, like an Amerk hat?
We're addicted to sports. The Thunder are committing as much as $250 million to Chet Holmgren. And then after that,
Mike Danger, man of international mystery.
Secret agent man.
You know why they call it the Heartland, right? Because the brain isn't there.
Heyo.
No, nothing? Okay.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
You're back in the sports bar. Welcome on in. Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us at 95.7 FM, AM 950. The free-to-download Odyssey app. You can also hear us on iHeartRadio. You can hear us on TuneIn. You can watch us on Twitch or our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, where we stream live every afternoon from 3 until 6. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
All right, so you are a proud homeowner. So am I. I would say this is the biggest issue I've ever had as a homeowner because I don't know what to do.
Oh,
so
we want to compare notes because I feel like I'm going through it right now as a homeowner.
Okay.
But this is of my own doing.
This is your own doing.
Yeah, this is me inviting chaos into my life. Yes, honey, we should absolutely turn the covered patio into a sunroom.
It's not done yet?
The project will never end. It is stalled. We are waiting. Look, everybody that's done work on it is great. I don't fault anyone. And if you deal with contractors, if you deal with anybody in the trades, it's like some of them are a little hard to get a hold of. Some of them don't really want the work. Some of them will look at it and be like, no, more work than I'm willing to do. And we've had our fair share of trials and tribulations. Hopefully we get some progress here again because we've got this great framed, sunroom that we can't enjoy because we don't have electrical in it. We've stalled at the electrical portion. We're going to get past it. I'm confident it's going to happen. But I've invited that chaos into my life. That's me inviting chaos into my life. You're saying you have an issue.
I have an issue that nobody would want. So, lead a simple life, Danger. We have our dog, Beasley, and the pattern in our home every night, at least in the summer, is, okay, sun's down, little dog can, he's a schnoodle. He can walk around at night when it's a little cooler out and, just kind of give him a little walk, take care of his business, and come back. So here I am just watching a pretty wild Met game last night.
Does Beasley react to the word walk? If you say walk,
yes,
he perks up. You have to come up with a code word. I've come up with sniffari. I say when I want to ask Sandy if she wants to take the dog for a walk, I don't say, do you want to take Walter for a walk? Because immediately then he freaks out. I say, is it sniffari time? Let him go out and just sniff around. It's time for a sniffari.
It's funny. We say that in our house, but we say it like a TikToker because the TikToker will call it a sniffari. Send your dog on a sniffari.
Come with me as we take Beasley for a walk through Spencerport.
So the executive producer, my wife, takes Beasley on the walk, comes back in. Oh, there's something wrong. hey, hon, we've got a hole in the driveway. I'm like, all right.
Whoa.
All right, well, you know, this is going to the 10th here. No, you have to see this now. I'm thinking, okay, somehow we got a pothole. No, we just
going
came
to the 10th.
We
Sweetheart, I get it. You know, our house may be sinking into the Earth's crust, but the Mets are going into the 10th. Can we prioritize, please, for once?
All right, sure. Yep, I'll go and I'll take a look at this. Now we haven't been home for a week, and all right, maybe there was a pothole or something that just kind of popped up. And I see it like, oh my, we have a sinkhole, a fist-size sinkhole at the bottom of our driveway. Okay, and now my son, who loves these sort of projects, instantly brings out the tape measure, put it down. That is 16 inches down into the ground.
Ooh.
Size of a fist.
Over a foot down.
Over a foot down. Like, what the heck happened here? Like, the tar, it just kind of drops right off. I'm like, well, this is a problem. All right, so first call today to the town of Ogden. Or what do I do? To transfer me to the highway department. And they were great. They send somebody out right away.
Awesome.
Because they're like, okay, maybe this is, because if it's electrical, it's an easement. I have no idea about that
you
stuff.
know the reason why they send somebody out of fear of litigation. I feel like that might, like when Sandy tripped on a sidewalk and broke a finger a couple of years ago and brought it up to the town, they had somebody out leveling off sidewalks in our neighborhood the next day. They don't want any sort of lawsuit.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel like an idiot. I'm like, you're not going to believe this? I have a sinkhole. Oh, no, sir, we'll be right over. And they were right over. And, the man in charge, like, called me back and was real nice about it. He's like, that's not on us. But what I can tell you is that sinkhole is right in line with the fire hydrant that's on your property line. You should call the water authority. Here's their number for their dispatch. I'm like, wow. I call the water authority. I'm like, hey, this is the issue I'm having. Yeah, that's great. You know what? We will get, and this is right before the show, we'll get somebody out there right away. By the way, what are you talking about today? It's not going on with the Bills. I want more. Like, okay, so little shout out.
Hey.
Chad from the Water Authority. He's going to have somebody check out the sinkhole, but even then, Danger, what the heck do I do? This is my driveway.
I'm glad that Chad listens to the Sports Bar 1. 2, I'm glad that Chad didn't pass the buck because it sounded to me like Ogden might have passed the buck a little bit there to the Water Authority. Not our problem. You're going to have to deal with the Water Authority. And if the Water Authority were to say, not our problem, blame Canada. Then you'd be like, all right, seriously, somebody going to take accountability for the fact that I have a sinkhole at the bottom of my driveway? What you're going to have is it's going to get patched up. I mean, that's the only way to get around it, right?
Well, yes, but if you don't fix a sinkhole the right way, from my limited knowledge, it's going to reappear. So literally, I'm like concerned I'm going to have like this whole rip up the driveway, let the stones kind of go down.
You need a new driveway.
I think so.
You might need a new driveway.
All right, so like, listen, hey, anybody that wants a lead.
Hey, if you by the way, if we're talking driveways, you could get a 2-for-1 deal because my house is over 20 years old and we've never replaced our driveway. So maybe a 2-for-1 deal.
Your wife is the one that will bring the people up and then be like, no, I don't like your equipment. Beat it. So
she's a tough customer,
yes,
man.
She is, yeah.
She's a tough customer. The other alternative is just get some duct tape, man. Just duct tape fixes everything. Throw some duct tape on that sinkhole, kind of turn a blind eye. Everything will be okay.
Everything will be fine.
You don't have to worry about it.
I'm worried I'm going to go home and it's going to open up even more.
You're going to go home. Half of your house is in the earth. We've seen this happen before. Not here, but it happens in Florida with some frequency, right? Where sinkholes will just swallow up an entire home.
Yeah, it's that's candy for your 6 o'clock news. Meanwhile, in Alabama today, we have a sinkhole and half the house goes down.
Who's our guy at the Water Authority?
Chad of the Water Authority.
Chad, thanks for listening, and thanks for also noticing that in the beginning of July to the middle of July, it's tough sledding in the sports bar. We might have to talk about sinkholes and driveways because you're right. There isn't a lot to talk about with the Buffalo Bills. We could talk about Steph Diggs and Cardi B breaking up or not breaking up. We could talk about Brazilian butt lifts and all that we've learned.
We touched on Naeem Hines, and now he went on national radio today, just making his pitch.
Making the rounds.
Look, I am all for find another job. It's just not a fit in Buffalo. I'm sorry. It was great while it lasted. It was very short.
No, I think that what this time of year represents, if you're a football fan and you're looking for anything, any sort of morsel, you're hoping that your favorite player doesn't get in trouble, but what you're going to get hit with is hot uniform talk.
Hit that music, Mike Danger.
I mean, it's just one thing after another. Whereas for fantasy football, training camp is drinking water from fire hose season. I think that's where we are right now. And if you're a uniformant, right now is drinking water from a fire. There's just too much to keep up with.
Okay, so I've got two teams here. You tell me where you want to start. One team could be on the clock picking number 1 overall in 2026.
Should be.
The other team, Super Bowl contender. I think that's fair to say.
Okay.
Which one do you want to start with?
Well, let's start with the bad team.
Okay, the bad team, and they are no stranger to the alternate helmet, but they're going to have a new alternate helmet at being the New Orleans Saints. Mike Danger, can I get your real-time reaction to the Saints alternate helmet? It's now white with the gold fleur-de-lis and the gold stripe going down the middle, which I would assume you would wear this
with all white.
With all white.
If it's all white, for some reason, all white unis in New Orleans, I think would be kind of clean. I didn't mind the black alternates that they had. They wore those black alternates. They've had those in the past, and I think they're keeping them for this upcoming season. So this is now like a third helmet.
I think this would look clean if it were under sunlight, something like that. Like under the dome lights, I'm not sure how that would present, but if you're going to go on the road and wear a white alternate helmet with just gold trim, maybe gold numbers on the uniforms too, that'll work. This I'm okay with.
We didn't
not too many reasons to watch the Saints this year. Maybe.
Speaking of the Saints, nope, we didn't spend any time talking about Alvin Kamara getting a mulligan and throwing the first pitch at a Cubs game.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
I mean, when you see a professional athlete botch a first pitch, doesn't that make you even more nervous about the prospect of a mortal throwing a first pitch?
No, it's something with football players, Danger, because he wasn't the only one to do it. Like, they had the Fanatics Fest while we were down. That's the one in New York City. And Joe Burrow was out there, and he's in a batting cage, and he throws it right into not anywhere close.
Is it the bump? It's got to be the bump. The bump throws you up.
No, it's the arm motion. Like
really?
Yeah, because there's one, if you look it up, Bills quarterback Trent Edwards at the time throwing out the first pitch in Toronto, and it's like, holy cow, it's like he picked up a baseball for the first time. Like, goes
skies
away.
it, huh?
Yeah.
And speaking of the Cubs, just quickly, Call Her Daddy host Alex Cooper getting booed unmercifully for her rendition of "Take Me Out to the Ball."
Yeah.
You don't do that. You don't get to make it your thing. That's sacred. You don't get to do a skit around "Take Me Out to the Ball."
No,
it's pretty simple.
I think for that's an easy gig, right? Everybody, seventh inning, should be feeling pretty good whether the Cubs are winning or losing. You forget what I'm saying there? And as long as you do it kind of similar in the style that Harry Carey and just wave
Just
and
have
having a good
fun.
time. Yeah.
She made it about herself. She turned it into a skit. She tried to sing it all different and different keys. I'm like, she deserved to get booed. You deserve to get booed. You botched "Take Me Out to the Ball." You don't. Lack of talent. You lack of self-awareness. Lack of talent. Come on. You had one job. "Take Me Out to the Ball game" at Wrigley Field is automatic. You should be feeling good. You should be feeling the vibes. It's electric. Don't botch it. Just sing the damn song. Instead, she does a skit and hey, Daddy, you've never seen anything like this before. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
This isn't America's Got Talent. This is Wrigley Field. Sing the damn song so we can drink our beer and sing along.
It's almost like she didn't know. Nobody, but she had to.
Yeah, just take the L, disappear for a little bit, and don't go singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" anywhere anytime soon. The other team,
and if we could have the appropriate music here, because this I think is hot too. because this franchise, you suffered not years but decades under not inept ownership, just evil ownership. And now here are the Washington Commanders, legitimate Super Bowl contender. Oh, no, they're not. They made the NFC Championship game last year. They have a quarterback danger that certainly can, lead you there. And, well, if we're talking Super Bowl contender, Washington is calling this their Super Bowl era throwback. Legitimately, this is what we grew up with. The white jerseys, burgundy pants,
yes,
the gold racing stripe, the helmet, almost the same.
No logo.
It's just the W is on the side.
Right.
So that is the only difference in these. Now, boy, the Take Factory going strong on this today.
No, we got to stick to sports, Gene.
Yeah.
Stick to sports. What's the holdup? If they want to get a stadium, is Trump going to have to get involved if they want to actually build a stadium in D.C.? Is that what I saw across my feed?
No, he has no jurisdiction.
I'm trying to stay out as out of it as possible and be as blissfully ignorant as possible on this. But I think I saw somewhere that Trump mentioned that he wouldn't have changed the team's nickname. It's like, okay, so what are you telling us? We're going to change it back? I don't know that you're putting the toothpaste back in the tube after that one. So these uniforms, I get behind 100%. That's a strong look. A look that, frankly, they should have never gone away from.
No, I think that, honestly, I think the Commanders, I think they should kind of ditch too. Like, if you just go back to Washington football team, I thought that some of that was clean, but like the black alternates, no, I'm not into those for the Commanders. But they're sticking with the Commanders. But these uniforms, with the exception on the W on the side of the helmet, they're exactly what you saw there in the Super Bowl era. Joe Gibbs, and like, of course, a lot of this like coming across my feed. Oh yeah. Yeah, it was the last time they won a Super Bowl. Yep, that was fantastic.
We remember it well, yeah. Can't scrub that from the old memory.
Well, speaking
no amount of bleach.
There was Thurman Thomas was in town last night at the Wings game, and they put a mic in front of him and asked him about James Cook. Now I'm bringing this up because, well, think of that Super Bowl. Thurman forgot his helmet, but I'm sure he appreciates me remembering that. Thurman was asked this question about James Cook, and he's giving the standard answer, and you should play hard, make money. But he said something I thought was interesting. He said James Cook right now is the second best player on the Buffalo Bills.
I don't know that I disagree. Linemen aside. Okay.
Right.
If you think about linemen, like, the line is good. The line protects Allen. The line gives him time. Dion is good. Spencer is good. I don't know that I disagree. That's a strong take, and I don't know that I disagree.
It's hard to come at it because you're going through I like Bernard, but he wasn't out there the whole time. Is he like, you're going through it like,
no, he
I can't make a concrete argument that says this player is actually.
He's right. It's Allen 1, Cook 2. He's right. It's a great take. James Cook is the second best Buffalo Bill, and he's about to walk in free agency in the offseason. Yikes. A couple of other notes before we get to Jim Riley. Go back to Major League Baseball. Jim Riley of Ballcap Sports joining us here in just a few. Normally, we would look at the calendar here in the next couple of days and be like, ooh, there's a deadline. There's a looming deadline here. July 15th is a date that we normally have circled as an important date in the offseason calendar. But really this year, when you talk about getting a long-term deal done for players that are franchise tagged, it's one team, it's one player, it's the Chiefs and their guard, Trey Smith. So there's a deadline here of 6 days for them to turn his franchise tender into a multi-year contract, or Smith will be playing this upcoming season on that $23.4 million franchise tender. Or he's going to...
That's a lot of money. $23 million.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to lower that, right, if you're the Chiefs, so therefore you can go shopping for whatever you might need. But this will get uncomfortable with the Bills, too, for like Osiris Torrance. And like, this is years down the road. Well, actually 2 years down the road. But are you paying that to a guard?
The Bills have almost done themselves a service in that they've got really good guys, but they don't have elite guys. Like, if you think Trey Smith is elite at his position, and He's up there, right? Like, he's one of the best. Osiris Torrance is very quietly very good. I don't know that anybody
He
would
took
call
a little step back last year.
I don't know that anybody would call him elite, but very quietly he's having himself a nice career, and he's going to get his eventually. I don't know if he's going to get his to the tune of $23.4 million in any given season, but that's the I don't know if that's the art of drafting a guy who's really good but also manageable in terms of cap flexibility. Couple of notes as far as how we'll consume the NFL, at least from an ESPN standpoint. One of our comforted brands on ESPN, Sal Palantonio, he's going to mark 30 years with the network coming up here on August 1st. He has signed a 2-year extension, which will carry him through 2027, May of 2027, when he'll be 71.
Wow.
Sal Palantonio is just a fixture. And also, Dan Orlovsky, who's great, has signed a multi-year agreement to remain with ESPN. And he's part of that B team that does Monday Night Football. And, of course, NFL Live. So Orlovsky, great with his analysis. You hear him frequently here on the Fan Rochester when he makes his appearances on One Bills Live. He's not going anywhere. It looks like he's going to be with ESPN for a few more years at least. Jim Riley, Ballcap Sports on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and get all you need in Major League Baseball. Jim Riley, Blue Jays guy, too, so we got to find out how he's feeling about his team, who I think right now might be on the verge of ending their winning streak. Middle of the fifth, White Sox 2-1 over the Jays. As we give you a real-time score here in the Sports Bar. Jim Riley joining us next on the Fan Rochester.
Sports Update.
Wings hold on today at home. They knock off the Worcester Woo Sox 4-3. 2 weeks from today, Buffalo Bills training camp starts at St. John Fisher University. Steve Tasker likes Hard Knocks coming in.
I'd love to hear fans' thoughts about what Hard Knocks means to the Bills and if they're for it or against it. I think most fans are kind of secretly happy their teams do it because they want to see and want more content about their team. And this is unlike any other content.
Not to wish summer away, but we got a date for hockey season. The Amerks home opener will be Friday, October 10th against Toronto. The complete AHL schedule coming out tomorrow. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com, where today you get 2 rounds for the price of 1 to Wildwood Country Club. A great track. If you want to get this deal, you better log on to GetMyPerks.com. Gene Vitaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
I mean, it's part of baseball. It's part of it, so it's going to happen. There's a lot of players out there that have great numbers that deserve to be there, but it's a roster that they got to fill, and it's only 25 guys. They cannot take all the guys.
Juan Soto, New York Mets, not going to the All-Star game and making it known. There's a lot of money attached to him if he does make it to the All-Star game, as we welcome in Jim Riley, Ballcap Sports, joining us in the Sports Bar. Blue Jays guy, Jim, and I know you got 585 roots, and I'm curious as to what your path was to becoming a Blue Jays fan. I imagine it was just out of proximity. Is there a story behind your Blue Jays fandom?
It's definitely where I grew up, and thank you guys for having me back. It's always fun. Yeah, I grew up in Watertown, New York, and that Sky Dome, as it was called at the time, was the closest Major League Baseball stadium. So my dad took me there to catch an Orioles game because that was his team growing up. So takes me my first game, Jays and Orioles. We get there, and I think I'm maybe like 8 at the time. Completely taken by the massive nature of everything. When you're 8, everything's big, right? Well, the Sky Dome is like the Coliseum. So I just went there, absolutely fell in love with the whole thing. My dad's like, I thought I was bringing you to an Orioles game to introduce you to that culture, and nope, I put the blue hat on and haven't taken it off ever since. But yeah, that's and it didn't. And again, as a child, my favorite color was blue. Now all of the listeners know my favorite color, and that also plays a role. But when you're that young, that can be the determining factor. That can sway it sometimes, right? What's your favorite color?
Well, Jim, I'll tell you this: if you grew up in a different era, because my first ball game was also in Toronto.
I love that we're sharing these stories.
Exhibition Stadium. Exhibition Stadium was a dump. It wasn't even a
terrible
baseball stadium. It was legitimately a soccer stadium that they kind of configured. I mean, it's a miracle they even got a franchise in there with that ballpark.
You would never do that under the situation today. That would never get the green light. Hey, I mean, we kind of joke about the whole the Vegas thing and the Tampa thing and their stadium situation. Like, that was kind of worse. Like, hey, here's a team. Do you have a stadium? Nope. Okay. Here's your team. It was amazing.
I went to Wrigley Field for my first baseball game. My old man took me.
Ooh, nice.
And we had obstructed view seats. I had a beam in front of me for the entire game. But it was comforting to know that down the row from us was the parents of the starting pitcher for the Chicago Cubs that day, Jamie Moyer. And I knew it was Jamie Moyer's parents because Jamie Moyer's dad looked just like Jamie Moyer. You know how Jamie Moyer had like that structured jaw. I'm like, that's Jamie Moyer's parents right there. That's Jamie Moyer's dad. And they were very invested in the starting pitcher for the Chicago Cubs that day against the Philadelphia Phillies. And we all kind of kept our allegiance. Even though you're a Mets fan, you went to a Blue Jays game.
But you like when you go as a kid though, everything is like, wow,
it's massive.
I'm watching the Brewers and it's Ben Ogilvie and Gorman Thomas and Molitor and Yount. And I remember more about that game from 1982 than I can tell you about last night here. I swear.
Oh, I can remember watching batting practice. We went to it was Jays and Mariners. So once I was fully locked into the Blue Jays, my dad started taking me to go see the Jays, and we just picked out key moments. and we found the Mariners game to go to, and we're watching Ken Griffey Jr. batting practice, just launching rockets to the old Hard Rock. It's just those moments are special for sure.
So talk a little bit about your team here. They've risen to first place in the AL East. I don't think anybody had them in this position at this time of year, and they haven't been in this position since 2016. It's certainly a softer part of their schedule. They sweep the Yankees, so that's impressive. But what do you account for here with the Jays taking over the AL East?
They've never been in this position. 54 wins before the All-Star break set a franchise record. So they're on a tear right now. The 10-game winning streak, which as we are speaking, I do believe is in jeopardy.
Yes.
Yep. Adrian Hauser, I'm telling you, not to go off on a side tangent, but whoever gets Adrian Hauser at the trade deadline from the White Sox is going to be very happy because he has shut the Blue Jays down on back-to-back starts while the Blue Jays are hot. So we'll just throw that out there. That's trade bait to chew on later. But this Blue Jay team is definitely feeling different. There's something to this team that we just didn't have the last couple of years. There was no consistency with this team. You'd win a couple games, but then you'd lose a couple games, and then ultimately the losing streak was right around the corner. That would be trouble. But there never was the ability to get hot and stay hot. It was gone the next series. So this has been really exciting to watch, bringing back a lot of vibes for Jays fans of the 2015 season and everything that encompassed that team with Bautista and Donaldson and Encarnacion. But with this team, it's been fun because it's Bo and it's Vladdy, and that's what you think about. But it's more than Bo and Vladdy right now. It's George Springer's resurgence. Just finding the fountain of youth over the last couple of weeks. It's Addison Barger. I mean, some of the guys that have come up from Buffalo have been major contributors. Addison Barger, Rochester's own Ernie Clement. Yeah. They're getting some really fantastic contributions with the bat and in the field with the performance that they're getting from guys that just weren't producing like this or were not even on the team last year. And then the pitching. Pitching has been excellent over these last couple of weeks. Jose Barrios, Kevin Gausman, Chris Bassett, they're getting stellar performances from their starting pitchers, and that's leading to a spot where the bullpen isn't getting taxed. The bullpen, these guys can just go out there, they can do their thing. It is really it's the textbook. It's textbook on how the Blue Jays have been able to get this done. Good pitching. The bullpen is holding steady. You're getting performances. You're getting I don't want to call them surprise performances, but definitely guys stepping up. And here we are, 10-game winning streak, and hoping to, at this moment again, rally in the the rally's over in the 8th. They're going to have to, in the 9th, try to tie this game up.
Not over yet. Jays in the division, Jim, entering today, up 3.5 on the Yankees, 5 on Tampa. And when we last talked, we were talking about Tampa as this team that was up and coming, but they've kind of cooled off a little bit. The team of most interest here in our area is certainly being the Yankees. And the two-part question, trade deadline. What should the Yankees do, but actually what do you think they will do here?
Right. Yeah, the Yankees have been dealing with two main issues. Right, the pitching has not been there, and that has been letting them down, and they're just striking out too much. This team needs to go out and find guys that can grind out at bats and put the ball to play and limit and cut down on the strikeouts. But it feels like that's kind of their MO most years is strikeout ends up doing them in. But the pitching has really been trouble. I think losing Clark Schmidt doesn't help. I got to see, Luis Gil is supposed to come back after the deadline, or after the All-Star break. At some point, I believe it August is when they pinpointed his return. Does that convince the Yankees front office to say, all right, hold off. We don't need to go crazy at the deadline for starting pitching because we're going to get a key piece back. Those things always sort of worry me because those are blurred out images. You don't know. What if Luis Gil hits a setback? Or what if he comes back and he's not sharp for the first month? Well, you're doomed. So I still think this team needs to go out and get some starting pitching at the deadline. There is a trade partner that has two things that they need, and that's the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, the Diamondbacks need to get on the side of the fence where they've decided that they're going to sell. And once they do, Eugenio Suarez and Zach Gallen, I mean, you could get two needs with one trade, with one phone call, if you call the Diamondbacks once those two are officially on the market, because that's what they need. They need starting pitching. They need a guy that can slot into the top half of the rotation, and they need a third baseman. I'd love to see them get some more pop. That's what they should do. What will they do? Again, you have Heal's return looming. Maybe they feel comfortable with that. Maybe they go out and get a lower-cost rental. At some point, I feel like Spencer Jones needs to be used to bring pieces back that could lead to a parade. Parades over prospects for me. So I'm a little bit more aggressive when I think about potential trades. I would move Jones if it brings me back pieces that help me line up a parade.
Jim, what about the Chisholm move to second base, which feels like what took them so long, right? Like when you think about a team like the Yankees, who lean into analytics as much as anybody, knowing how much the team struggled, how much more they struggled with Chisholm at third base, what took them so long to make this move?
I mean, I think they liked his arm over there. He has a good, strong arm, but it is interesting. I thought from the start, before the season even began, they needed to go out and get a defensive first third baseman. A familiar face, Gio Urshela, was available. Urshela ended up signing with the A's. There were opportunities for them to start the year with Jazz at second and go get a third baseman. They didn't do that. They obviously they were convincing themselves that it was going to work, and I never bought it. I don't know how you get to this point other than you feel like it was good enough. Maybe you wanted to give him time. You liked his arm. I think you're coming up with excuses at that point. You really don't have your answer. But, I mean, adding to this whole situation with the Yankees and as far as the infield goes, I don't know if you saw the news, but a few minutes ago, the Yankees DFA'd DJ LeMahieu, who they still have to pay $15 million next year, and whatever the remainder is probably about $7 or $8 million on this year. And boy, that contract, that signing, really only looked good for maybe one season.
Well, let me stop you right there, Jim. Do you think that was why it took him so long? That the albatross of LeMahieu, the money attached to LeMahieu, and his reaction to being moved off of second base?
No, definitely. When you think you have options, and when you looked at DJ LeMahieu and you were Brian Cashman and the rest of the guys in that front office, you look at DJ LeMahieu and you're like, we got a guy. We got a guy that can play second or play third. We have options, and we're paying DJ this much money. You're right. You're sure right that we're going to play him and see what he's got. And they've realized that he doesn't have it anymore. So now you move off him, and Peraza is going to play third base for the time being, and Peraza has not hit this year at all. It's really a mess, and it could have been avoided because there were opportunities along the way last offseason to address this issue.
We're talking to Jim Riley, Ballcap Sports. You can watch it on YouTube. Rochester Roots here as well. And Jim, I think you could win a bar bet right now if you ask somebody the question, hey, who has the best run differential in baseball?
I know the answer.
Yeah, you know the answer. And according to Michael Kay, by the way, that's all that matters, run differential. But it'll be the Chicago Cubs. Here are the Cubs. And again, they're not – that division, Milwaukee's kind of hanging around. The Cardinals still doing that. But you figure the Cubs in that division, but legitimate contender. This has been a lot of fun, but you're just past the halfway point. Your thoughts on the Cubs here as we're approaching the All-Star break?
They need to add another pitcher, and they need to swing big, pardon the pun, for that pitcher. Eminaga and Boyd are two very nice pieces at the top of the rotation, but you need something else. You can't rely on Cade Horton. You don't want to rely on any of the young pitchers there, Horton and Brown. Colin Ray is a nice fill-in piece, but you don't want him getting starts in October. So they need to swing big for a top-of-the-rotation arm because this team is a World Series contender. There is no doubt about it. They have depth. They have a good bullpen. They have a deep bullpen. They have, again, two good pieces at the top of the rotation. They have maybe the biggest, and I know a lot of the focus is on Soto because of his contract, but I would almost argue that Seiya Suzuki is an even bigger all-star snub. But there's just up and down this lineup with Suzuki and Pete Crow Armstrong. I mean, look, it's crazy to think that they traded for Kyle Tucker in the offseason, but Kyle Tucker, if you were to say who's the best hitter on the Cubs, you might say it's Seiya Suzuki. Well, who's the second best hitter? Well, it's Pete Crow Armstrong. Well, who's the third best hitter? Lately, it's been Michael Busch. That's how good and deep this lineup is, that Kyle Tucker would be maybe second or third out of your mouth when you're talking about their lineup and about their bats. But go get some pitching. And this team, and Jed Hoyer has said as much, that's going to be the goal. Go out, get your pitching, and go make a run at the World Series. It seems that good for sure.
Jim, where do you come down on this? Earlier this afternoon, we were talking about futures bets and trying to decipher which team in the AL and NL could overthrow Detroit in the American League and the Dodgers in the National League. And the guy that we had on, PJ Glasser from BetMGM, said, if he had to make a futures bet in either of those leagues to win the league, Padres in the National League, Astros in the American League. What say you? Are those the two teams best equipped right now to take down the front runners in either league?
I would agree with the Astros. I think that is a great one. They've been playing tremendous baseball. They have pitching. They have starting pitching. They have a good bullpen. They have bats. They have. And they're not even playing. Yordan Alvarez is not a part of the equation right now. He's arguably the Astros' best hitter. So once he gets back, it'll be even more tremendous there. And I think the Astros are also going to make a trade at the deadline for a bat. So this Astros team definitely has some more levels that they can unlock, and they're already playing tremendous baseball. In the National League, I don't know if I would go with the Padres. The Padres had the Dodgers on the ropes last year, and they let them off. They not only let them off the ropes, but it opened up the pathway to the Dodgers winning the World Series. So I don't know if I could go San Diego Padres. They have had some injury issues in that rotation. I think they need to add another bullpen piece or two. I think they have too many needs to address at the deadline to be able to meet them all, especially with their farm system. It's not weak. It gets a bad rap, but it's not strong enough to go out there and address everything you need. I would go with the Cubs. I would say that the Chicago Cubs could be that team because their bats will be able to – you need a slugfest? Yeah, the Cubs can enter into a slugfest with you if you're the Dodgers. If you need somebody to go lights out, Imanaga, Matthew Boyd, they can go toe-to-toe with the best that the Dodgers can throw out there. So for that reason, I would lean Cubs as my futures bet to dethrone the Dodgers in the National League.
Jim, if I had one complaint about instant replay in sports, it's that quite often it takes too long. College basketball, ridiculously long. Baseball, way too long. We know this. Well, I don't think that applies to ABS. We saw it well in advance here at the AAA level in Rochester. You tap on the helmet, there it is, boom, let's move on here. So, we're just getting pushed back right now just to be nice to the umpires. Who is actually going to be against this and bringing this up today? Because I think it's a big story. They're going to use this actually in the All-Star game. Is this not a precursor to us having this in the majors during the regular season in 2026?
Yeah, it's coming next year. It'll be here next year, and it is going to be a great addition to the game. How many times have you seen a 1-0 pitch, call the ball, and now all of a sudden you're behind if you're the pitcher, or if you're the hitter and you're down 0-1 and a pitch is clearly outside, clearly a ball. Well, now it's 0-2 instead of 1-1 even count. So it's on its way. I think that this is such a big change that they are taking it in baby steps. Maybe, and I wouldn't know this, but maybe there's elements of the umpires union they have to work out to make sure that the umpires feel safe that they won't ever lose their jobs. Kind of reminds me of the writer's strike a year or so ago, where it was all about AI and all of that. We don't want to lose our jobs. You have to make sure that you still have people in position. Maybe, I don't know if that would be hanging things up. But I do think you need umpires, especially maybe now even more than ever, because they reinforce the pitch clocks. There's so much going on that the umpires have to have their eyes on. So I would think the umpires would be fine, should be for it. Maybe they just want some security that, hey, we'll go down this road with you guys, but in 5 years, we still need to be here, kind of thing. And I think they definitely do. It'll be a great thing for the game. We'll see those miscounts that swung in the wrong direction even back out. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking for really it's the egregious ones that I'm looking forward to. The stuff that's on the shadow, that's on the black. I kind of sometimes want to give the catcher credit for framing it. Yeah. But the egregious ones need to get cleaned up.
It'll be great for the game, but will the players embrace it? I mean, I feel like every time there's a significant change in Major League Baseball, whether it's ABS or the pitch clock or their friggin' uniforms, the players have a bitch about it. And I'm wondering what the players are going to say about ABS when it becomes more prevalent.
I think they will be for it. It's kind of interesting, the timing. It'll be here next year. And with it showing up next year, that means it will not be a part of the collective bargaining that will take place the following year, which is probably a good thing, because in those situations, the players will want something, say, okay, yes, we'll do your ABS rule, but we need this. We need the pitch clock. We need 3 more seconds on the pitch clock or something like that. They'll try to negotiate something. But the players should be on board, because at the end of the day, this benefits the pitchers. It benefits the hitters. There's really no, in my mind, slanted competition here. I think it levels it. It evens out the playing field for both sides. Nobody really gets one-sided advantage, either pitchers or hitters.
Yeah, let me sneak one last one in here, Jim. And I'm going to credit my co-host, Danger, here, who had this take about a year ago. And now all of a sudden,
I said it as a joke, but it wasn't a joke.
You know where I'm going with this. Yeah. Like legitimately, you said, you're not going to pay the guy. You might as well trade him right now and see what you can get. Talking about Paul Skeens, but yet you said it as a joke, and now, wait a second. This isn't. Is it a slow time of year? Why is this being debated, or is actually this is something they would consider? Like your thoughts on it? It's not an if question, but when will the Pittsburgh Pirates move Paul Skeens?
Yeah, I'll say this. There will be I do believe there will be a high-profile Pittsburgh Pirates starting pitcher moved before the deadline, but his name is Mitch Keller. Yeah. I don't think it'll be Paul Skeens. I think Paul Skeens will eventually be traded by the Pittsburgh Pirates. I hate to say that. I would rather them work out a deal similar to what Alex Anthopoulos does with the Atlanta Braves, where you pay him a little bit more during these arbitration years than they would get through arbitration. And in doing so, you ask the player, say, hey, give me a break on the other side of arbitration. Let's take a couple $1 million off those years and give me the first 2 or 3 of those years. I would love to see that happen, but I don't know if Bob Nutting, owner of the Pirates, is interested in doing that. I mean, he signed these Mitch Keller and Brian Reynolds deals, and now he's trying to trade them after just a year or 2 of giving them extensions, which was to show the fan base that, hey, look, we're committed to winning. Well, not so much. It's really frustrating, the whole Pittsburgh situation. I do think Skeens inevitably gets traded. This whole thing got started with Jeff Passan on the Pat McAfee show about a month and a half ago. He brought up the idea that the Pittsburgh Pirates, if you're not going to win, then you should trade Paul Skeens. And I felt like, as I've watched that a few times now, it was more about just a dig at the Pirates in the public space than it was trying to start a Paul Skeens trade rumor. But it started a Paul Skeens trade rumor, and no one's put it down. No one's put it down since.
All right, we're going to go off script a little bit here, Jim. Bear with me. And this matters to you, me, and to the man standing across me and Gene Battaglia. This is official DIAFC business, my home fantasy football league, because we're approaching fantasy football season. We're approaching redraft leagues. Jim has been in our league, I want to say from the early days of the DIAFC. And as commissioner, I want to extend you the invite to return. Of course, this year you're one of the proud members of the DIFC. We would expect nothing less. Gene took a year off. Gene, if I can find a draft day that works for you, will you come back to the DIAFC?
See,
and
I don't know if Jim ever put 2 and 2 together, but here's the backstory. The Danger invites me, and then he picks the draft date. And the draft date is my anniversary.
Oh no!
So what? I tell my wife, like, well, this is Danger. I really want to do this. Is it okay? Well, why don't we do this together? And if you remember a team, the Assassins, and it was like a husband and wife, and legitimately she helped pick us out, and we whammed the damn thing in there. And now I'm not in the league anymore.
Well, I just invited you back in.
I'm back in.
Commissioner, former Commissioner Biggie has opted out of the upcoming season. Biggie, our friend from Three Heads Brewing. Everybody knows Biggie. And because Biggie is out, we have an opening, Gene.
Of course yes.
All right.
Yes.
Now, with all that being said, just a quick fantasy conversation, Jim. What part of the first round do you want to be picking?
Oh, man. I'm kind of I like being towards the back of the first round. I like having 2 picks close to one another. I hate going early in the first 3 or 4 picks, because if you bust on that pick because he gets hurt or he's Christian McCaffrey, which is the same thing, he gets hurt, then you end up you're done, because you don't have anything for how many we got in the league this year? 12, 13, 14? 12. You don't have anything for 23 more picks. It's got to come back to you. I like having the security of almost a backup pick early in the draft. I hate having to wait. What do you guys say? Are you early or late rounder?
I'm a mid-round guy. I like the middle of the round. Give me 7, 8, 9, somewhere around there.
As long as I'm not at either end of the snake. But number 1 overall in a super flex, I'm totally fine with. I think being right at the end where you got to make that back-to-back. That's
a lot of pressure.
Hey, while we're talking league,
the very end's no good.
While we're talking league matters here as commissioner, I mean, it's been rolling our mind. Any objection, Jim, on converting our home league to a super flex league, essentially a 2-quarterback league?
Man, I don't do too many fantasy football leagues. I do yours and I do another one from college buddies, and they do the 2-quarterback league. But are you saying you would make the flex position quarterback eligible, or would it be a 2-quarterback league?
No, it would be a OP flex, so you could play a quarterback in your flex.
Got it. Okay, I would be okay with that. I'm in a league that has 2 quarterback positions, and that drives me nuts. As far as the flex goes, I would probably vote in favor of that.
The super flex. All right. Be looking for
I would vote in favor.
Be looking for a poll soon in the DIAFC message board, and Gino, be looking for your invite.
Nice.
Fantasy football season right around the corner.
Yeah.
Jim, it's great having you on. Tell everybody about Ball Cap Sports on YouTube and how we can get more of your content.
Yeah, come on over. Ball Cap Sports, Jim Riley. Search either one on YouTube, and you'll find me diving deep into all of the trade deadline conversation happening right now. I've got a video premiering tonight with Ryan Ripken. Name probably sounds familiar. Yes, it is that Ripken lineage.
Yep.
Ryan has a podcast as well. He and I got together to have some Orioles trade deadline talk. That'll be up tonight. Just diving into it and getting everybody ready for that ever famous trade deadline.
Nice. And as I do one last refresh. Dude, I'm sorry. The Jays lost. 2-1.
Streak
Dang
over. They had to lose
Winning
one.
Streak over.
I don't like losing
you
to the
gotta
White
lose
Sox.
one. 10-1 over their last 11 doesn't. That's not too bad.
No.
Dude, enjoy the rest of your week, man. Thanks for the time as always.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
There's Jim Riley, Ball Cap Sports on YouTube if you want some baseball coverage. Love talking Major League Baseball with our buddy Jim.
Yeah, we're way over here. Adrian Hauser, he's going to be a top pick come to trade deadline. And just mow down the Jays.
Just go ahead and pluck him from the White Sox. Get him off a losing team and put him on
Bring
a contender.
him to Citi Field.
See what happens.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break, come back with Happy Hour next. And your calls at 866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. HD2 Rochester. And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester. Sports Update.
A win and a matinee for the Rochester Red Wings. They even up their series with Worcester, 4-3, the final in favor of Rochester today. On the Major League scoreboard, the Blue Jays have their 10-game winning streak snapped. The White Sox take this one 2-1. They're in the bottom of the ninth in Milwaukee. Dodgers up on the Brewers by 2-1 score. Phillies up on San Francisco 2-0. They're in the fifth. Tonight's Orioles-Mets game in danger of getting rained out. Yankees news today. Yankees DFAing DJ LeMahieu. The Yankees continue their series tonight against Seattle. Rochester Americans' home opener will be Friday, October 10th against Toronto. The complete American Hockey League schedule coming out tomorrow. Sports brought to you by GetMyPerks.com, where today get 2-for-1 rounds of golf to Wildwood Country Club. For this and other great deals, log on to GetMyPerks.com. Gene Battaglia, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
We're exactly 2 weeks away from training camp at St. John Fisher. 2 weeks from today.
It's such a good offense that the skill position players. Obviously, you want pieces. You want Josh Allen. You want James Cook.
Khalil Shakir! Wow!
It's Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, and it's going to be a good one.
Mike Danger.
I'm like, oh boy. We're going to have to deal with insufferable Gino with the number 1 overall pick for the next couple of months.
Well, to be fair, I'm always insufferable.
Well, go ahead.
Let's go, Mets.
Gene Battaglia.
Should I wear something just as a tip to the sports bar, like an Amherst hat?
We're addicted to sports. The Thunder are committing as much as $250 million to Chet Holmgren.
And then after that,
Mike Danger, man of international mystery.
Secret Asian man.
You know why they call it the Heartland, right? Because the brain isn't there.
Hey-o.
No, nothing? Okay.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Happy hour in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia. We're glad you're with us. Thanks for making us part of your afternoon routine, your ride home, even if it's just for a few minutes at 95.7 FM, AM 950, or you're connecting your device, your Bluetooth through the Odyssey app, through iHeartRadio or TuneIn, or watching the Sports Bar on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe at The Fan Rochester. You can go back and watch any part of the show you may have missed, or listen to any part of the show you may have missed with Rewind in the free-to-download Odyssey app. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
Sometimes topics come up, just in the natural flow of conversation, and this was something I brought up earlier about the Bills here. And Thurman Thomas, when he speaks, okay, he is the greatest running back in Bills history. I will say that. Some others might argue, all right, about another guy.
I mean,
no longer with us.
No. I'm not going to listen to you speak ill of Juice. Thurman got him to 4 Super Bowls. I think we can give it to Thurman.
Right. Thurman's the guy, right?
I mean, Juice was great. A little before my time, so I don't remember watching Juice, but, from everything you see and, of course, the numbers and everything, yeah, he has a place, but Thurman's the guy.
Thurman did, as he does every year, a celebrity appearance last night at the Wings game. And when he's talking in front of the reporters and there's a camera in front of him, hey, what are your thoughts on James Cook? He's hitting all the points that most of us would make. Hey, James Cook, great player. James Cook, ball out this year. James Cook is going to get paid, sees both sides of the story. James Cook is the second best player on the Buffalo Bills. Put it out there, Danger. Is that true? And you and I said, well, it's kind of hard to dispute that. Chris writing in Dawkins.
Yeah, I mean, I would listen to that. Dawkins has been a constant on that line, and that line has been remarkably healthy. Knock on something quick. Dawkins is good. Brown is good. I'm sorry. I agree with Thurman. I think James Cook is the second best player on the Buffalo Bills roster.
Our buddy Terry Schaefer, former Robert Morris goalie. Benford? Not even sure, but just for the sake of argument.
Okay. Very quietly in the conversation, but it's still Cook for me. I understand where you're going with Benford. And I think by saying just for the sake of argument, you're basically saying, yeah, I know he's not really the second best player, but could you make the case for him being the second best player?
I'm going to look through a different lens here because James Cook
while he may be the second best player on the Buffalo Bills, and it's hard to argue against that, because he's in this triumvirate at running back, he's not going to be an all-pro. We're not going to say that's one of the top 2 running backs in this league, this game today. Where Benford, look, you saw Tre'Davious White. Benford could be an all-pro. Who else could be an all-pro on this team? I don't think Dawkins. Benford, for me, would be the strongest argument.
I think Dawkins is in that conversation. And, I know that this is pie-in-the-sky outlook, but, what if Dalton Kincaid shows his potential, or Keon Coleman shows his potential?
Fair. Yeah,
right?
that's the fun part.
If those guys have the kind of season production-wise that James Cook had last year, then they've entered the chat. But until then, I don't disagree with what Thurman is saying, and it's funny to think about it that way because we've been saying all offseason, prepare for James Cook to leave after this season in free agency to get the bank that he's looking to get because the Bills aren't going to invest that kind of money in running back. And I know there's a handful of people. What is it? Was it Geary that said you got to pay the guy? I can't remember who we've talked to in the past that's close to the Bills, that covers the Bills insiders, that have, for the most part, I think everybody's that we've talked to has said, yeah, we kind of get the sense that there's not going to be a deal done and that there won't be a deal done, and that when the season is over, James Cook is going to ride out his rookie deal and go play somewhere else. And now I'm starting to wonder, is there wisdom in keeping James Cook at the running back position, knowing when it comes down to it, you're letting the second best player on your team walk in free agency?
Does James Cook's representation, and I'm going to ask you this question, and I think the answer is no. Do they have really a feel of what he could earn on the market next year? They think they do, but we've seen Brandon Beane with other guys like, yeah, this is the last year for Matt Milano. No, it wasn't. Yeah, this is the last year for Jordan Poyer. No, he came back. Like, legitimately, I'm not willing to say, like, James Cook going into last year, but then he gets to the offers like, well, if all things are equal, I'll stay in Buffalo for another year or two.
Well, I think that if he has the kind of season we expect him to have, it's going to be undeniable that he will get the offer. And that's what this is all hinging on. I'm trying to think about, when we call him the second best player on the team, while there might be truth to that, he plays a position that isn't as important as some of the other positions, including the position that Christian Benford plays, since you mentioned him. In that regard, do you put more weight on the performance of a guy like Christian Benford and say, no, he's actually better than James Cook? James Cook is really good at a position that we don't put that much value on. I would listen to that. Deion Dawkins, of course, I think you have that conversation with him as well, knowing the importance of left tackle, the importance of protecting the quarterback's blind side, and the fact that he's done it at a high level throughout his career. Then I would say, yeah, Deion Dawkins is maybe the second best player on the Buffalo Bills. But if you just think about the talent, the production, what they mean to the offense or the defense, in this case, James Cook in the offense, yeah, I think he's the second best player in the team. I don't disagree with what Thurman is saying.
Yeah, Chris writing in, what is the bigger debate, second best player on the Bills or second most important player? Thurman's take was second best player, but James Cook is not the second most important player. I think that's the line.
Yeah.
866-4FAN, 866-4326. Do you agree with Thurman Thomas that the second best player on the Buffalo Bills is James Cook? Brad in Rochester. Hey, Brad, what's up, buddy?
Hey, with this whole debate about Cook, the biggest thing that I see is what does Jahmyr Gibbs get with his second contract? Does he reset the market? Does he take less than $20 million? If he takes, say, $18 million, to suddenly makes James Cook look at $15 million as a deal? Because at this point in the careers, Gibbs is a little bit more important to the Lions than James Cook is to the Bills.
Well, I think that's the conversation, brother. We're trying to decipher this here, and I'm like, every team is going to put a different value on the running back position. And up to this point, the Bills, with Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, haven't really placed a premium on that position. You can get that production in a lot of places. The Lions feel like the opposite of the Bills, in that they have put a premium on drafting and investing draft capital in Jahmyr Gibbs, getting a David Montgomery from the Bears, doing these things and investing in that position where a lot of teams have kind of shied away from doing that. So I guess
Well, here's the biggest thing, too, is has the Bills landed the right guy to really put the investment in?
Meaning after they drafted
have
Cook?
they landed the right running back that might deserve that second contract? Because Singletary never deserved it.
Okay,
Moss,
I get what
not
you're saying.
So much.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Does Cook truly earn that second contract? Because I know Gibbs has, Montgomery had the second contract. Well, who does he absolutely deserve that?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, what does Cook mean to the locker room? What does he mean to the organization? Does he want to be in Buffalo? Like, put his house for sale. Maybe he doesn't want to be in Buffalo. Maybe he thought, I got drafted by the Bills. Not really where I want to be, but, as a Florida kid, I'll go up, I'll play, I'll ball out, and I'm waiting for my next opportunity.
Yeah, and he sees what happens to his
His
brother.
brother,
His
yeah.
brother was great, and then all of a sudden, running backs burn out really quick in this league. That's just an unfortunate reality.
Yeah, you'll never get James Cook to say, I never wanted to be in Buffalo, or I can't wait to leave Buffalo. He's a good guy. He's a team guy. He wants his money. His money is as important to him. He told us as much at the beginning of minicamp.
Well, I mean, Danger, it's just a human nature thing. If I'm James Cook, he wants his money, and I see, do we want to go down the list? I see Terrell Bernard, Greg Rousseau, I see Khalil Shakir, I see Christian Benford, who all got paid. I don't doubt for an instance that Brandon Beane actually made the offer, but it wasn't $15 million.
Right.
And just like Christian Benford, he took a little less.
Oh, I thought for sure Benford was going to be due over $20 million.
Honestly, Benford should be the conversation. Yeah. Like, when we talk about Brandon Beane and you can nitpick about wide receivers and whatnot, him landing Christian Benford?
It's a hit.
Wow.
Absolute hit. Yeah. It's a great take. And I'm with Thurman. I think he is the second best player on the Bills roster, and I think the second best player of the Bills on the Bills roster is going to be a free agent at the end of the year and sign with another team. I'll hold on to that through the course of the season, and hopefully it's a season that's very productive for James Cook. Certainly, that will help his case to get to the $15+ million that he's looking for.
Listen, James, go to New Orleans, Carolina, Dallas, go wherever you like. Don't go to Kansas City. No, don't do that.
Yeah.
Or New England, for that matter.
Yeah, is it odd that Kansas City, the team that has represented the AFC so frequently in recent years here in the Super Bowl, the team that the Bills can't get, is it odd that they're the only team in the NFL who still has the lingering franchise tag option to deal with their guard, Trey Smith? I know it's not sexy to talk about offensive linemen, but this is fascinating to me.
Right, a little bit. You could say not so, because they went through this with Chris Jones. The fact that he actually missed a game, or like they got him back so late that he wasn't ramped up in time to play in a season opener. I remember that all happened, and it all worked out, and they won another Super Bowl after that. It's a position that if you're going to pay, what is it, $23 million, you're thinking twice. I don't know how this plays out. I'm not doing it personally, for as good as he is. And if you're comparing this to the Buffalo Bills, the way they've structured their offensive line, all right, you've got two tackles on the outside set there. What do the Bills do with Osiris Torrance? Really nice rookie season. Okay, if you go by PFF grades, maybe not so much in the second season. You've got a journeyman, in plug and play in Andrews, maybe Andreessen. Not Andreessen, who's the other guy? I'm sorry. Alec Anderson will take over at some point. The Bills have been not frugal, but they've made some smart investments on the interior. Interior offensive line, Danger, you got to be really sure if you're going to pay that money.
Well, I'd be really sure about Trey Smith. He's pretty good. He's a pretty good player. I'm looking forward to Friday when you're in Kansas City and you're doing the show from Kansas City and I'm here and we get Binkley on with us. We can talk about these kind of things. Because this, to me, feels – I don't know that it's as – I mean, the Chiefs have used the franchise tag before, but, I mean, like, are other teams missing out – by not doing what the Chiefs feel like they're pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, pushing the limits of what they can and can't get away with the cap and with their stars and with – I mean, at some point the rent comes due, and when is that going to happen? Is it the year that Patrick Mahomes shows up to camp a few pounds overweight?
By the way, they keep saying radio host in Kansas City who went out – he's just a podcaster.
Yeah.
It's like, if you missed the take, you point it out. And look, it looks kind of dad-bodish.
Yeah.
You really think like if we bring that up to Binkley on Friday, Dad Bod and Patrick Mahomes.
And who are we to judge, really, honestly? I mean, I'm fresh off of a 2-week vacation in Europe with food in front of me every day.
I was thinking of buying a number 15 Chiefs jersey, walking in, and, hey, this is my Patrick. See, look at this. Him and me, we're one and the same there.
We have the same BMI. Patrick Mahomes' BMI is pudding.
Well, he's at that part of his career, though, where you look at Pudgy Brady and when he came in, like if Mahomes wants to play 10 years from now, like, look, Father Time is a bitch. You know, he's going to, like, catch up with you, bud.
Trainer for Patrick Mahomes kind of took exception to the notion. Like, that's you calling me out on the job I'm doing with my client. I work hard with him. He works hard. I mean, look, the guy, I said it yesterday and I'll say it again. I'll say it until I see it. I'm not going to speak ill of Patrick Mahomes until he falters. If you see Patrick Mahomes cost the Chiefs a game, then I'll be like, yeah, all right, maybe this is the start of a decline. I doubt it because I think he might be the best that we've seen since Brady, and we might be dealing with him for another 5 to 10 years of high-level performance where it's like, God, we can't get over on this guy.
He won a Super Bowl on an ankle sprain.
Right.
Like the guy, like you can compare that to the kid from Indianapolis who tapped out.
That's coming up on Friday, by the way. Gene will be in Kansas City, going to Kaufman to watch the Mets and the Royals, the 10-year anniversary of the Mets' last World Series appearance. Jay Binkley.
I didn't realize that when I accepted the invite, Danger.
But you had to know.
No,
it's not like the Mets go to the Kansas City to play the Royals that often.
It's embarrassing to me that the Mets lost to the Royals. And I would have rather lost to the Yankees or the Red Sox. This is the stupid Royals you lost to. And who can name 5 players from that team?
I don't think I can name one.
Let me see. Moustakas, Lorenzo Cain.
Who was the manager of that Royals team?
Ned Yost?
Jeez.
It's just a bunch of nobodies they lost to that gelled.
They just were a good team.
Good team.
Good team. Got hot. Played well. And you're going to the 10-year reunion. All of them are going to be there.
Oh,
waving to the fans.
Apparently there's a bobblehead, too.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, do I bring back the Royals bobblehead?
We got room on the mantle behind you there, Gino.
I'm not going to represent it. I'm going to let that Kansas City.
We got room on the mantle. Right next to Chuck Muncie. Right next to the Muncie portrait.
Oh, that's special.
It is special. We got a couple of hot uniform nuggets from the NFL today. I mean, this is the time of season we're in, folks. Off season.
Like, what are we waiting for Buffalo? Do they not like money in Buffalo with the red helmets? But I'm thinking that we're not going to get the alternate red uniform because we got those Nike. We're going to have some day, Danger, where the Nike unveil is going to happen, and we're all going to be reacting to that.
The Nike-ification of the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, it'll basically like the baseball version of, hey, this isn't the team uniform you're used to, but you're going to like it. This, though, I think is hot. 2 teams. One team, I say Super Bowl contender. The other team, they carry the mantle of entering this season as the worst team in the NFL. I like both these moves, Danger. The New Orleans Saints being that team, the worst team in the NFL right now. Heck, who's their quarterback? Last year they unveiled the black alternate helmet. This year they went in the opposite direction. They're going with white. But when I tell you that when you see the logo and the gold stripe, I think that pops a little bit, gold on white.
I like the look. I took a swipe at I work in New Orleans as part of my responsibilities outside of the sports bar, and I was on a call last week, and they were discussing, hey, we've got these preseason tickets to give away. Which station is going to give away the preseason tickets to see the Saints and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, you really should give those away. That's a premium item and probably the best football you're going to see all season long. They muted me. I don't know why, but from that point on, I couldn't say anything else for the rest of the call.
The preseason, who are they playing in the preseason?
I don't know. The preseason is the best that it's not going to get any better than the preseason for New Orleans. The quarterback's going to look great in the preseason. Everybody's going to look good in the preseason. Regular season starts, they're going to suck. Enjoy the preseason.
Wow, they muted the boss.
Mm-hmm. I got muted.
It's either the Jaguars or the Broncos.
Who invited this guy from New York? Get him off the call. Don't be talking ass about the Saints. Who dat? Okay.
Yeah.
You enjoy the preseason. That's as good as it's going to get. Second move for hot uniform talk.
Second move
And I think this is exciting for any Washington fan. Because if you're a Washington fan, the question you would ask is, why? Well, either you're of that generation or your old man or your mom dragged you into this. Well, you think back to the good times, right? And you think back to, oh, my gosh, the Gibbs era. Not one, not two, but 3 Super Bowl championships. They're calling this basically the Super Bowl throwback. It's, with one noticeable exception, it's the same uniform that you watched all those teams with the 3 different quarterbacks. See if I can name them. Doug Williams, Mark Rippon, Joe Theismann. Yeah, Theismann, yeah.
Who's the first player that comes to mind when you think of that era of Washington football?
Riggins.
It's Darryl Green for me.
Darryl Green's good.
It's Darryl Green for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll listen to Art Monk. Riggins was, iconic. The Super Bowl run, iconic.
The Fun Bunch.
The Fun Bunch was great. It's Darryl Green for me. My God. We never seen speed like that in the NFL. He was something, and he played at a high level for a long time.
Well, these uniforms are not going to have the logo you remember from the team name that's no longer used. It'll have the current logo, the W on the side of the helmet.
What? You're not going to bring back the old logo? You're not... I don't understand.
Was that wrong? Should I not have done that? I tell you, I gotta plead ignorance on this thing, because if anyone had said anything to me at all when I first started here that sort of thing was frowned upon, because I've worked in a lot of offices, and I tell you, people do that all the time.
Probably not happening.
No. I just said, and look, if you want to find takes on that, you can easily find takes on that.
Oh, yeah. We got a lot. I'm hearing and seeing a lot of stick to sports the last couple of days. Stick to sports. We're going to stick to sports next with a round of shots.
Yeah, coming up. As, we have an update on our first couple, Danger. Did they really break up? Stephon Diggs and Cardi B?
Oh, I thought you meant... When you say the first couple of the sports bar, I mean, there's only one couple I think of right away. I think of Bill and Jordan. But yes, we have to talk about Diggs and Cardi B. This is important stuff.
We absolutely have to. And an interesting change, it is an exhibition after all, for Tuesday's All-Star game that I think is going to provide a clue as to what's going to happen in baseball next season.
We have last call coming up before 6 o'clock as well. You can have the final word in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia when you call 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening. Sports Update.
Yankees move today as they designate for assignment DJ LeMahieu. The Yankees continue their series tonight against Seattle. The Mets and Orioles, they've been rained out. They'll make that up as part of a day-night doubleheader tomorrow. The Jays had their 10-game winning streak snapped by the White Sox today, 2-1. Rochester Red Wings hold on at home. They defeated Worcester 4-3. 2 weeks from today, Buffalo Bills training camp opens. Steve Tasker talking about Hard Knocks.
I'd love to hear fans' thoughts about what Hard Knocks means to the Bills and if they're for it or against it. I think most fans are kind of secretly happy their team's doing it because they want to see. They want more content about their team, and this is unlike any other content.
Ameryk's home opener will be on Friday, October the 10th against the Toronto Marlies. The complete AHL schedule coming out tomorrow. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The best local sports talk in the Flower City. One Bills Live in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Weekday afternoons on The Fan, Rochester.
Happy hour continues. Welcome to the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia, glad you're with us. Thanks for watching on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. Thanks for listening in the free-to-download Odyssey app, iHeartRadio app, or TuneIn app. Time for a round of shots, Gino.
You know, it was interesting. Something you said in the beginning of the show today about how Aaron Boone sometimes talks to the media when he was talking about yesterday, moving Jazz Chisholm from third to second. Well, how did DJ LeMahieu take it? He didn't. He didn't really cover up for DJ LeMahieu.
It wasn't political. It wasn't a very political answer. It was basically, yeah, he's pissed. He didn't take it well. I'm like, well, okay, you could say, you could have the knowledge as the manager that he didn't take it well, and you could publicly say, well, you know, he's a competitor and he's going to fight to get. Or you could do what the Yankees did today. You could say he didn't take it well, and then do what the Yankees did today, which was designate him for assignment.
Yeah, I mean, look, this two-time batting champ, okay, but he's 37, and if you're the Yankees, you're eating $22 million. Isn't that kind of worth it? I think, like, now you have Chisholm in his natural position, and now you can actually go after, let's say, Eugenio Suarez or some big fish like that at third base. I don't know. It seems like a no-brainer to me. Automatic balls and strikes coming to the All-Star game next week for Major League Baseball. Could be a precursor to becoming permanent as soon as next year. According to baseball's own study, Danger, 72% of fans said they liked it when they saw it in spring training this year. Of course, we've seen it here in Rochester at AAA for the last couple of years.
And it's just going to make it its appearance at the All-Star game. How long before players are bitching about ABS? I want to believe that they're not going to because it feels like a no-brainer, but I just feel like this is just the MO of a Major League Baseball player. Something new, something changes, whether it's the pitch clock or ABS or their friggin' uniforms, there will be a complaint about it.
Now, when it came to the spring training, there was one memorable moment that was actually kind of funny because you had a pair of ex-teammates now playing on different teams. You had Max Scherzer throwing, for the Jays against Trey Turner of the Phillies. Scherzer, first pitch of the game, right down the middle, strike. Turner taps his head. Scherzer's like, really?
Yeah.
Just like, yeah, come on.
Look, good. Because I feel like more times than not, I want to see highlights of Major League Baseball games. I want to see, the long ball, but I don't want to see blown calls. And I feel like I see every night as I'm scrolling through my feed, I feel like I'm going to see, look at how horrible this call was, or watch this horrible, or this player gets thrown out because of what was clearly a strike, was a ball, whatever it is. Like, I'm for this. I can't wait for this.
Like, the thing with replay is they just speed it up. And I think every sport should have a clock when it comes to, okay, you can't figure this out, call stands, let's move on. And that's the way it should be. It's not always enforced. ABS, it's like, nope, there it is. You missed it, or no, you were correct.
Right.
What do you think of Abdul Carter, Danger? What kind of year is the rookie out of Penn State going to have for the Giants?
Double-digit sacks.
I think it's a reason why to watch the Giants, right? A lot of people excited, and, well, like many athletes, yeah, Carter trying to cash in. He did a signing with Panini Cards. His signature doesn't say Abdul Carter. It doesn't even say anything close to that. He signed the card simply, Danger, with the @ symbol. You know the @ symbol. It's the number. It's above the number 2 on your keyboard. It's what you put in every email address, like Mike Danger @Odyssey.com.
you're Panini. Like, aren't you a little upset? Like,
that's his signature. You can't be upset. That's how he signs things. It's his signature.
Like Prince. He's just going to change his name to a symbol.
Yeah, no, he didn't change his name. He's Abdul Carter, but that's his signature. That's what you're going to get. I mean, how unique is that signature? You're not going to find anybody else with a signature like that. I think it makes his memorabilia that much more valuable. Look at how he signs it. Look at how clean those lines are. Get the right Sharpie on the right background, and those lines are clean. And wait a minute, that's the @ symbol from my keyboard right above the number 2. What?
Yeah, has anybody copyrighted the @ symbol? We should do that. If nobody's copyrighted the @ symbol, Danger, we should, because that's coming next.
Well, yeah, from now on, we're just gonna sign things with like a single letter, or I don't know. I mean, whatever you want to do, it feels like everything is fair game. And how serious, if you're Abdul Carter, how serious do you take having to do a signing at this stage of your career? Probably not very serious. Maybe somebody will pull him aside and say like, "Hey, come on, really?" But if this is what he wants to do, hey, good luck.
Getting attention for it. From the WNBA scoreboard today, the 11 a.m. tip time for Camp Day in Indianapolis saw the Fever and Caitlin Clark returning. 10 points in 25 minutes for Clark, visiting Golden State wins. Clark missing the previous 5 games with a groin injury. Doesn't look all the way back yet.
5 games is all she's missed? It feels like the season, maybe it's going slow. Did she miss more time earlier? And what am I, or they're just spreading out these games so much now?
Maybe she came back and then she's missed the last 5. Yeah,
I haven't been paying attention. Look, that's not a great output, but the last, I don't know, the last WNBA piece of content I saw cross my feed was a story about asking the question: is the WNBA jealous of Caitlin Clark? Yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
They're absolutely jealous, and until they can get rid of that petty jealousy.
Well, who set the tone? It was Taurasi and her mate there, like when they just kind of like the beginning, like okay,
it's dumb, just petty and dumb, and I can't take you seriously. She is unbelievable as far as a draw, as far as a player. She has the ability to transcend that league, to elevate that league, and that league and its players just don't seem to want to have anything to do with it. Okay,
and she's not wrestling with the pigs, meaning when you wrestle the pigs, you get dirty.
Yep.
No, she's staying above it all. This makes no sense to me. The NBA Summer League is going on, and I don't know if you like it. Good for you. To me, it's a Francesa, but we'll talk a little about tomorrow, I suppose, because we're going to see the debut of the number 1 overall pick, Cooper Flagg, with Dallas. He'll be on the court tomorrow night facing the Lakers, which means, okay, you're also going to see Bronny James in this game.
Who cares?
Take a guess for how much courtside seats are going for in Vegas. $2,500. Okay, you have too much money if you're spending $2,500 on that.
It's dumb money. It's just
Summer League.
Yeah, that's dumb. Well, Bronny had a nice dunk. I saw a highlight with Bronny dunking in Summer League. I'm like, good for Bronny. Doesn't mean he's an NBA player, but good for Bronny. Better than getting hung up in the net going for that dunk, which, man, a little rough in the NBA for the seed of LeBron James.
Stephon Diggs posting a video of him working out with Cardi B, which would suggest the couple has not broken up. Responding to fans directly on social media, meanwhile, the rapper suggesting, well, she said it's a profane thing, it's a thing I can mention.
No, Cardi B? She's squeaky clean.
I picture, like, you and a bunch of programmers, like, sitting in a room and, well, here's our new single we'd like you to listen to.
Oh, I'm playing Cardi B in New Orleans, playing Cardi B in Virginia Beach. Yeah, Cardi B is very popular.
Like Cardi B in the sports bar, maybe?
WAP?
Yeah.
WAP is absolute filth and kind of a guilty pleasure. Like, I hear the song, and I'm like, I don't hate the song. It's filth. It's filth. But, as somebody is, I know you are, somebody who grew up on 2 Live Crew, I hear it, and I'm kind of like, yeah, this isn't bad. This isn't bad. It's kind of fun. Kind of funny. Yeah, if you take it in just like, okay, it's disgusting.
Cardi B, the funniest thing she said that we can mention to somebody, go to dinner, go shopping, go to the park, get off the internet enough. Life advice for everyone.
Yeah.
One of the rumors here was that Diggs broke up with Cardi B due to the side effect that you could have from what they call the Brazilian butt lift, which is a foul odor, which, Danger, I will confess, I knew nothing about. To simplify, the fat cells die, and they have nowhere to go. And medically, this can cause a rancid odor.
Yeah, so I believe it was this time yesterday, I brought up that something crossed my feed that stated that Diggs broke up with her because the stench was unbearable, and that's why Diggs broke up with her. But now you're saying if they're working out together, they can't be broken up. They have to still be a thing, an item, but that doesn't mean that the stench isn't. And he's working out with her, so I imagine the stench is even worse. But if you're Steph Diggs, you know how bad is that stench when you play football and you're in a locker room and you're hanging out with 400-pound dudes who just got done with a 2-hour practice in 95-degree heat? That doesn't smell good. No, it doesn't smell good. But you're saying this stench was the straw that broke the camel's back? I want to believe that they're not together, and I want to believe that they're not together because of the stench from the Brazilian butt lift.
Again, this is this is the exception here because I want to be the the police here, the truth police.
Yeah.
We want to put out false information.
Of course.
I don't know. It's too good to be true. We want that to be true, right?
I do. I really do. Quick break. Last call coming up. You can join us at 866-4326 and have the final word in the sports bar. 585-866-4FAN.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Fun afternoon in the Sports Bar. Is James Cook actually the second best Buffalo Bill on the roster? Tomorrow, Alex Brasky, Bills Digest, the Batavia Daily News, stops by at 3:25. We'll have some Buffalo Bills talk for you.
Yeah, Don Stevens will also stop by tomorrow as the Amerks schedule will be released. So he'll kind of break that down in real time. A last call is for you, 866-4326. John in Rochester. What's up, John?
Hey guys. I got to tell you, James Cook is phenomenal. But, I was thinking about this after listening to you guys talk. If he stays with the Bills for his career, he'll be the third best running back in Bills history and probably go to the Hall of Fame, just like Thurman and O.J. did. But if he doesn't, let's say they trade him or he signed with another team.
Be a free agent.
He's going to be another Cookie Gilchrist, Marshawn Lynch, Travis Henry, or Greg Bell. So it's going to be a choice. Hall of Fame with the Buffalo Bills if he makes his career, or just a guy that doesn't make the Hall of Fame. What are your thoughts?
Oh, Marshawn is a Hall of Famer.
Marshawn's a Hall of Famer, and I think if you're a Bills fan and you still sting when you think about that, what he became when he left Buffalo, I would say that if this season goes the way we all hope it goes, the Bills go to the Super Bowl, the Bills win the Super Bowl, James Cook is a big part of that. You can have that conversation with him and say, hey, your legacy could be here in Buffalo. You could leave this organization. You could retire a Buffalo Bill and be known as the best Buffalo Bills running back of all time. You brought us our Super Bowl, and you could end up in the Hall of Fame with a sustained career. But I don't get the sense that that's what motivates James Cook. I think what motivates James Cook is who's going to pay me the most money, and it's not going to be the Buffalo Bills.
What you need to make a deal happen is a deadline. We're nowhere near that deadline. So for James Cook, I don't fault him at all. That's an interesting take, John. Would James Cook, if he wins a Super Bowl, we all think, Fred Jackson, because we remember him, but would he be the third best running back all time in Bills franchise history?
Yeah, I think he would.
Yeah.
I absolutely think he would. All right, Brasky tomorrow, 3:25. Don Stevens, voice of the Amerks, stopping by at 4:25 to talk about the Amerks schedule release and the Amerks offseason to date. If you missed Jim Riley of Ballcap Sports or PJ Glasser of Send It In, both conversations available wherever you get your podcasts, the Odyssey app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can also go back and listen to the show or watch the show on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. JR Sport Brief next on The Fan Rochester. Have a great night.